atakuwa amekufa bure ikiwa ile damu wa Kenya walimwaga, hasa watu wa mlima huu walimwaga ndio ardhi yetu iwe sawa. Sasa nyinyi wajukuu wenu watakuwa wakilipa rent because liso kupatiwa lease unalipa rent, wajukuu vizazi vijavyo na vingine, and that is what this administration is trying to introduce. Kwa hivyo sisi tunasema mapema reject, and that is our position even as a party.
Kalonzo also cautioned leaders against tribal politics, criticizing UDA Secretary General Hassan Omar over remarks he allegedly made about the Agikuyu community.
As a person who has lived in this country, and I saw what happened in 2007, mambo yalianza namna hii, watu kuitwa madoadoa hapa, watu wakawekwa mbegu ya chuki. Wakenya wakaanza kuona wenzao kama sio binadamu kawaida, na hiyo chuki baadaye ikazaa kifo, mauaji ya laiki. Kumbukeni wa Kenya, kando na watu 1500 zaidi waliokufa wakati wa 207 clashes, 208. Remember people of Kenya, there are still people who used to be resident in the Rift Valley, na kwa sababu kuitwa madoadoa hiyo walitumuliwa makwao, na hadi wakati huu they have never seen justice. Mnataka turudi huko jameni? Mnataka turudi huko?
The remarks come after Hassan Omar issued an apology saying his comments had been misinterpreted and taken out of context. He maintained that he had no intention of targeting or insulting any community. Omar said his remarks were made in the context of his long-standing advocacy for land rights at the coast and were not meant to incite division or hatred among communities. And the family of former Matungu MP David Were is mourning the death of his 39-year-old son Hannington Were, who was killed by unknown assailants in Kisumu. Hannington was reportedly attacked on Sunday night by two motorcycle riding assailants while in the company of his friend Peter Mutua. Mutua said the attackers assaulted Were before he escaped to seek help.
Nikiti ya huzuni. Hiyo simu tumepokea, tulikuwa na mama akavunjika, mimi nikapata.
And that's the news. I'm Sheila Tembor.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Every time he kept on saying he wants a vibrant opposition.
How does it make sense that public money has been used already and then they dare to sell it back to you? Why are they not giving them for free?
That's how broken we are.
They're being sent home now for fees. They're going to fail to prepare. We are compromising the futures of these children.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Parliament has got powers. Let me break it down. The National Assembly can initiate an impeachment of the president.
This same National Assembly.
Yes. That's our constitution.
This is just a continuation of the previous administration, which Ruto was part of. President Uhuru himself openly said that we're losing 2 billion daily. Daily. I mean, come on. Are you saying that we don't have a central bank?
If we look at Kenya, both public-private sector, that figure is ranging between 30 to 40%, right?
I think it's clear that the government of Kenya is living beyond its means.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Baba should disown these experts and they say they went there on the because he keep on telling us that these experts you came from Dubai and you found them there already at State House looking for jobs.
Government has to has to introduce austerity measures. It's something that this government and the previous ones have not been able to do in this country. We've talked about it so many times.
And really, I think you have seen the modus operandi of William Samoei Ruto since he came in. It's just showbiz.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Members of parliament, they go to State House, they just promised they get given tea, mandazi, and 100,000. That's not development.
External borrowing, 589 billion. Are we on the same page? What did parliament pass?
If anything happened to our president today, God forbid, that man would become president. Na ndio alilenga hizo stories za Shakahola.
The real thing is our constitution has only one person who is accountable to us.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
I am also a publicly elected official.
Okay.
My salary is paid by your taxes.
Yes.
So if you need me to answer questions, we will not run away from you.
Asante
We will
sana.
always be here.
The government itself is engaging in corrupt practices. That the government itself deliberately schemes to influence through bribery members of parliament.
You pay for a passport online. Alafu you're told there are no booklets.
I rebuke matters corruption because corruption has brought this country to its knees.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Online, mobile, and on radio. Twitter at SpiceFM KE. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Good morning on this Monday. Cinder,
It's Monday.
it's Monday. It actually is Monday, Dennis Aseto.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Kwa salama nashukuru.
Hapana, sema ukweli.
Salama. All things considered, I thank God.
Okay.
Yeah, having just congestion issues, but nilienda daktari akaniangalia, nikapewa nebulizer and some medication, so niko fit.
Ati umepewa nini?
Nebulizer.
Hizo vitu za puliza nini?
Yes.
Can you use my Kiswahili? Is tirarikari.
Tunapuliza nini? Yeah, but other than that, great weekend, pretty much.
Good.
Yes.
It was all right. It feels like it went past in a blur.
You know, there's something that usually happens with me, yeah? The nakedness of your eyes make me wake up in the morning.
Let me tell you something.
Tell me.
It's a lazy Monday, and I was like, okay, are my eyes open? Is my being... So I said, you know what? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're not going to start poking around in our eye, cleaning our hands, cleaning the contact lenses, doing the thing. So I said, for today, Monday...
For today.
Just allow me to be lazy.
Okay, so...
Tomorrow, by the special grace of God, I will come correct.
Okay.
And Nini.
So how do I wake up this morning? Because the nakedness of your eyes ceased to exist this morning. Okay.
No.
I want that for 4 hours.
I promise tomorrow I'll behave myself. Even if Lynn is asking me questions, looking at me with that look for Nini.
Okay.
Tomorrow I will not be lazy, I promise.
I agree.
Sawa.
Kisha.
Sawa kabisa. But they're actually in my bag.
Okay. No, but I understand.
You get it?
I tried that thing once. I was like, you know, nope.
Yeah. I mean, I did it every day for 6 years, and I think just got lazy. But I'll get back on it. Yeah. Actually, the contact of the lens is actually better for my eyes if I think about it. But today was just that day when I'm not yet awake. I'll have a coffee in a minute, and then we'll get on it. Good morning, everybody. We've established. Wait, sometimes even English is not awake. We've established that Dennis Aseto is fine and okay. Evelyn is wearing a dress and stockings. She's looking very demurred. Demurred. Good morning.
Like a wild lady.
Yeah, I love it. I gotta say.
In the streets of London.
I know. But these are the streets of Nairobi. But we move regardless.
Yeah.
Muko salama kila mtu. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're getting into Monday morning, and it would be nice if I could just use the right mouse for the right machine. But here we are. A very good morning to you, and we're getting into it today. Karibu sana. Thank you for joining us as we get into a new day, new things. One can only hope and expect as we start to get off into a number of conversations. I just have to say that I know that every now and then there's something that we see in our space that gets us wild up. But, you know, with all the politics and everything, we know that we're getting into we're well into political silly season, and everything is happening at the same time. And there's still questions about what side you're on.
Yep.
And then, you know, there are those who say that somebody cannot speak a certain way about another politician, or somebody cannot say a certain thing in a certain manner, and it's just in poor taste. But the thing that has woken me up is that 10,000 children are missing over the year in Kenya, and that children are being defiled. And this is not about girls.
Yeah.
Boys and girls are being defiled. Others are turning up dead, and we are not saying anything about it. For me, that's a craziness. We are not talking about it enough, number one. Number two, if anything is being done about it, we're surely not hearing anything about it. And I'm just upset that we have to wake up to that this morning, again, to have that conversation. But there's something wrong if 10,000 children are missing and or dead in a year, over the years. I don't care if it's 100 years. And that we are not, even if a little bit, upset about that and pushing that something actually be done. Apana. That's what I'm thinking. It's just makes me feel very, very bad and heavy at the point where we have to think about things like that. That's where we are.
So yeah, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
That is where we are, and it's a really sad state of affairs that we have to be in the position where we continually bring things like this up. Sad to say. Okay, so I cannot find my mobile device. but I can let you know either way what we'll be talking about today. Because at 7 o'clock, we're going to have a political conversation. And of course, we're talking about where things go. Dismiss Makua and Hesbon Owilla will join us at 7 o'clock, and we'll have a conversation around, okay, so what is it? Where is it all going? Game plan 2027. What are we looking at? And a couple of things have been said. People might be using reject finance bill as a political tool. Others might be talking about the development agenda. People want to say things because it sounds as though you need to be on the right side of rain. What are we talking about? Game plan 2027. Two gentlemen will join us.
That come what may, we might as well rig the elections.
I mean,
yeah.
And then we're talking about some ridiculous tribal lines that you want to use to draw your picture, and then we come back with an apology later, and then other. I mean,
crazy time.
Let's see how we can realign, shall we? And then the Institute for Social Accountability is headed by a lady, Diana, as I like to call her. She'll be in the presence of Mr. Tom, and we'll be talking about basically exactly the budget, what it looks like. Of course, the finance bill. Today is the 25th of May. It's the final day for submissions in terms of public participation about what you feel about the finance bill 2026, and then all of this budget. What does it actually look like? What are the numbers? What are the real numbers? And the Institute for Social Accountability may be helping us have a look at what those numbers looked at, because they've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb, and we'll have that conversation with them at 8 o'clock in terms of what it really means. Okay. And then at 9 o'clock, we'll have an opportunity to talk about what's in your pocket, or in this case, what's not. Dear Mr. President today looks at Kenyans crying that things have actually gone a little bit too thin. There's not enough, and it doesn't look good, is what we're being told. Guys, we'll hear from you as well, and we'll be able to have that conversation with you guys. It could be just us sitting here making up the stories, but we'd love to hear from you as well. Sawa. So that's what it looks like today. Those are the conversations that we will have as we get into the Situation Room. Dennis Tola said, to Nduh with you this morning. Our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X, and our audience on KTN this morning. Good morning to you as you listen silently on terrestrial radio around the country, the region, and the world. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. We will comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Let's talk, and we get into it today as you tell us where you have gone this week.
Today we are in Africa's smallest country.
Smallest by land size?
Land size.
The Gambia.
The Gambia. Capital?
Wait. Banjul. Yes.
Banjul. The largest city? Sounds like a Rwandan name. Serekunda. Right? And one thing that stands out about this country, you see, when you go to Ghana, there is that point of no return. In the Gambia, they have Kunta Kinte Island, formerly known as James Island, recognized globally as World Heritage Site and a historical waypoint during the transatlantic slave trade. Right? So it's a country that major part of it is surrounded by, is it Senegal? But because of its shoreline, that then makes it not be within Senegal. But let's go to the proverb this morning, and I think this one you will love. It is the woman whose child has been eaten by a witch who best knows the evils of witchcraft.
It is a woman whose child has been eaten by a witch that best knows the evils of witchcraft. I think that's a very African traditional way of saying, he who where the shoe pinches, he who wears the shoe knows where the shoe pinches. You cannot come and teach me about my experience, my dear. If I have gone through it, then probably experience is the best teacher. Another one. It is me who knows the pain, because I'm the one who's gone through it. So perhaps we can all be teachers from our experience.
Yes.
Along those lines, perhaps?
Along those lines. I mean, I know exactly how I'm feeling. You can't tell me how I'm feeling. You better shut up and let me tell you how exactly I'm feeling. You know, so it is. It would be relatable with what is going on in the country today, where we find cost of living is high, a lot of products are unaffordable. Going to hospitals, going to school is unaffordable for many. Yet you're being told finance bill as well is coming to expand this, you know, and we're gonna take some more. And we hear Kenyans are saying it's too much, it's crazy for us. But you're being told lazima tufanye nini? Ushuru tuchukue
Tighten your belts.
Tighten your belts.
Yeah, your Prime Cabinet Secretary, as well as your Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs, said just the other day, it's tough times ahead, guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be even crazier.
Yeah, and then and then on the other hand, I mean, your boss is saying that the economy is getting better, and that we've done. Yikes! I don't know. It doesn't look too.
So if economy is doing better, come to Monanche, ask them: is the economy doing better?
The people who understand it, their experience, are the ones who then be able to tell you. Actually, that's great. Yeah. Because you can tell us your experience when we have that conversation at 9 this morning, that nobody's ever going to be able to take that experience away from you. It is what you have realized over the last couple of years, over the last couple of months, that you will then be able to say, this is what is my experience. And that forms our conversation that we will then be having at 9 o'clock. I think that's a great proverb, actually.
And I think when you look at the economy, pretty much personally, I stopped looking at the economy in terms of the numbers of how much carry is collecting. I'm looking at it wholesomely, matters of, because remember, it is the budget that is coming in, right, that would then inform how funds are distributed. So in that economy, how is your healthcare, how is your education, how are the services within that very economy? If nothing there ticks the box, then how exactly is your economy?
You have to ask it, that's for sure. Hey, hapo ndo tuko leo asubuhi.
Hapo ndo tuko.
Let's say hello to you guys. We know that you're tuning in wherever it is that you're tuning from this morning. Let's say hello to you. Robert Mbogo is tuning from Mombasa this morning. A very good morning to Karibu Sana. Thank you for being here with us this morning and for tuning in to the Situation Room every morning. I mean, I just think it's great in terms of then being able to click on these conversations that we have. Very good morning to you, Steve B. Good morning, Spice family. It's Spicy Monday. Well, let's see what we can do. Apart from Arsenal fans out on the streets, we need same energy to send Ruto home. One term loud and clear from Dallas. Dallas, good morning. Did you see the streets yesterday?
Yeah,
you people, man.
I'm telling you. Yeah? People usually think Arsenal fans are just like 2 or 10.
You guys, let me tell you, you guys were in the street. You filled everywhere.
Tell you what. If there is one thing that politicians should learn, is the greatest support is not on them, it's on different things. It's on different things. I mean, let me burst that bubble. There are things that Kenyans today love, that appreciate, that brings joy to them, and politicians are not one of them.
Well, imagine if that energy that we saw on the street yesterday, would then be turned into making a decision for the betterment of the country.
Thank you.
Guys, hey, those are the numbers. They're crazy. Now imagine if that could be moved.
From across board, man.
Everywhere. People ready to walk into the street to support their team. Good morning, Spice family. This is Makano Oliver, and he said, I saw fear in the president's eyes when the guy had a Bible. What happens to such guys? Who? The guys with the Bible? Or who? Or the fellow who came to say hello to the president? Yeah. I think he was a bit I don't know. There's no art to tell the minds. I think so.
The president, he's here. I can go.
Yeah. But the president also, I think, was maybe gracious to say, guys, leave him alone. He just wanted to say hi.
Do you think his security was gracious?
Let me tell you what happened behind the tent. That guy was beaten to a pulp. Hey, security finished that man. I
think even the president knew. When the president was like, hey,
the president knew. You knew, ma.
Yo.
Behind the tent has a totally different description now with that fella, unfortunately. It's not really something to laugh about.
I think that's a good story to follow.
To really find out what happened to him. He wouldn't be the first. Because there's another incident where a gentleman actually came up to try and have a conversation and he was taken away. And I thought the same thing. Oh my God, what has happened to that guy now?
Yeah.
Roger Nyange says, good morning, blessed week ahead, watching from Bidikani in Voi. And Joyce says, good morning. Good morning. Baba Coco says, good morning. Nduh and Dennis and the Spice crew listening all the way from Kendu Bay. The mind indeed is the measure of a man. Indeed. Omar Hassan must be called out and shamed. No glossing. Look, I think that if you allow yourself to be the vehicle of something that could perpetuate hate, that you really need to sit and have a meeting with yourself. It doesn't matter and everyone on any political side to an extent is guilty of this thing, that you continue to use tribe as the currency to then cash in It must be called out. If you see the things that have happened on this continent because of two warring tribal factions.
Yeah.
Not funny.
You know, saddest part for me is, for a very long time, Sarai has been a champion for human rights. He served as the chair at the Kenya Human Rights Commission. So what happened to this gentleman that today he forgets where he's from as a civil rights defender, that today he's spewing hate the way he is?
Nah.
What happens when you get into this political space? Do you leave your head at home?
Sometimes. Sometimes.
Sad.
This one cannot be allowed. No, guys. And Kenyans to call it out whenever. I mean, one of the biggest examples of how something like this can turn into a bloodbath is not too many miles away from Kenya. Come on, guys. And call it out when you see it. You're absolutely right, Bob. No glossing. It was wrong. It doesn't matter who. Kimiak says, is this how our public transport reps were boxed in? They probably travelled back yesterday, hangovered from our sandy beaches. Oh, my word. Nothing good will come out of the Kenya Transport Administration. Kimiak, I want to meet you. Nash and Gogi says, good morning, Princess Nduh and Dennis. Let's hope the new reshuffle will tighten the president's security. We may not all agree with his policies, but that office must be respected. Love from Arizona. I agree with you. I think that the office must be respected. 100%. The office must be respected. Sheikh says, how did it go with the doping Olympics enhanced games? Well, Kiaria Peter says, good morning from Mombasa. Knowledge will give you power, but good character will give you respect. Kabisa. Achieng says, good morning. Tune in from Hargeisa in Somaliland. I've been noticing a kaleidoscope of white butterflies here. And are there any in Kenya? Anyone know and what they mean? I do think it's the season. I'm not quite sure. There's a place that I've been to, Meru, Kipepeo, something.
Okay.
Farm,
yeah.
And I think this is around the time.
I think in Makweni as well.
Yeah.
There's a time we went to Makweni and there were a lot of butterflies. White ones as well. So I think it's also a season before the rains come.
Yep. It's a season. I would have.
Hello.
Kipepeo inapepea kwa pepo. Okay. Moving on swiftly.
I mean, if anything if this is indigenous knowledge, there is that whenever you see butterflies, rain's coming. Met Department communicated earlier. So here then we come to, it's called the National Disaster Management, NDMA, right? What are they doing with that information? The government of Kenya, what are we doing? Because, the rains are coming.
Yeah, we've been
waiting to act?
We've been a bit busy. So maybe we can focus on that now. Who knows?
Okay.
Osana Emily says, good morning. 5 incidents on breach of president security. The story of the young boy and the hyena may come to pass. It just might. This is the 5th one, isn't it? Sam Merlin says, good morning. How is the transport sector today? Well, I think it'd be interesting to see. Again, let's have a conversation at 9 o'clock in terms of what folks are spending to get on public service vehicles from point A to point B. Martin Detto says, good morning. Tune in from a country celebrating Memorial Day. Best show ever. Thank you very much. You're in the US today, somewhere in the US. And the US celebrates Memorial Day on the 25th of May. B. Awar says, good morning, Team Spice. You're all doing an amazing job. Thank you. Bob Awar tuning from London in the UK. Thank you so much. Mashari and Njeri is tuning from Portland, Oregon. Team Spice. Nduh and Dennis watching from Portland. Mark Mwangi. On very disturbing news, does Omar Hassan think he's the most educated person? The fact that he used the UDA letterhead is clear evidence the leadership and membership of UDA is on a genocide path. Yikes. I don't know, but like I said, it could spiral into something terrible if it's not nipped in the bud. That thing just don't even start to play. I keep saying, let me tell you something. You see those people who said, I found a dog on the side of the road. It's so cute. It's a puppy. You bring it. After some months, it's grown. You think it's still a dog. It turns out to be a hyena. And then you keep petting it and feeding it milk. One day, it'll bite you. Yeah. One day it'll attack you. So you keep coddling this thing. You keep milking, feeding it milk. You keep petting it, whatever, welcoming it into your space. You don't realize the danger that it's going to bring later. One day it'll attack you. And I'm praying to God in heaven, who is gracious to all men, that this is not the beginning of somebody that can just talk anyhow. No. And you must refuse it. Don't bring the dog into your house. Yes, don't bring the dog into your house.
It's not your pet.
It's not your pet. It's not one day. Soon it'll eat you.
True.
Yep. It'll eat you. Okay, getting through this real quick. Matthew says, how come a local news outlet had more information about the missing children than the police? What are our security priorities as a country? One must ask the question. I don't think they don't know. This is my problem. That I don't think the police are unaware of the missing children situation in the country. The question is what takes priority in terms of their action. That should be the pain point. Kelvin Gitagia says, habari za asubuhi wa Kenya wenzangu. The issue of losing our babies is scary. It's very scary. Karen Jogona says, good morning, happy new week. Leo Princess Nduh, good morning. Is it a coincidence or am I wrong that mostly hear cases of missing children when elections are nearing? Interestingly enough, that there's a missing children network in this country, and they're actually sending out a blast all the time. All the time. Luhimbo says, good morning, Nduh and Aseto. As usual from Nduh, wishing you a wonderful week of great conversations. Thank you so much. Evans Miena says, Nyahururu, we are getting ready. Where are we rejecting the finance bill? Today is your last day. In terms of public participation, today is the 25th of May. It's the final day that you can actually participate publicly in terms of what you feel about the finance bill. My Princess, National Police Service has a child protection unit. What's their work? This is a very good question. Stanley Kimani, you sum it up with one word. DJ Wazimu. Good morning. That was planned. What? The man coming up to the stage? Interesting. Saeed Hadia says, Hidayah says, good morning, tuned in from Qatar. Arsenal. Okay. Washoga Toto says, good morning, darling Nduh and Aseto. She says, spell Aseto with an R. Have a blessed day. I want to say hello to everybody as quickly as we can. Vidze Team Spice, streaming live from Kilifi, says Benson. Kahindi, good morning to you. You're watching from the East Coast, DJ. We see you. Good morning. Sir Kanute says, good morning, Nduh and Dennis. Always happy to follow you. Thank you for being here. Musama Okweli says, good morning. You say this security lapse was stage managed. Okay. There's a lot. Musema Okweli, good morning. Gekota says, good morning, my good people. Princess Nduh, Dennis, EVE. Too many security breaches on the president, and this is unacceptable. Where is the head of the presidential security? Watching from Miami. I actually agree. I agree. And I think it's a telltale sign of other things. If there can be such a breach that allows the president be accessed in a manner like that, then you have to ask the question, excuse me, where were you? That the guy has reached the president. And has even put his arm around him.
Somebody.
And hi, what's up? And he even turned and he looked at him. That happened in 5-7 seconds before these other guys came up. In another country, my friend, you wouldn't reach.
You wouldn't.
So I agree that leave politics and all those things aside. The president actually should be protected. And that happened was a major security. And it's not the first time.
Not the first time,
Who are these folks who are actually supposed to be? Those folks who wear the sunglasses, you think they're shading from the sun. No, they're looking to see what's going on. Where were they?
Because we will read the same script from what recently happened in the US. Was it yesterday? The gentleman who went outside State White House.
And then they locked down the White House.
And opened up gunfires. What happened? You know?
Guy's been taken out.
Taken out easily.
Without question.
Yeah.
No, who are you? Where are you from? Who's your mama?
What did you do?
No question.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
Yikes. So someone must ask. And I do think, it's not that I do think, it's supposed to happen. The president should be protected.
Yeah.
And the folks around him, even though it's politics, don't sleep on the job, man. Rahimtullah Omar says, good morning from Nairobi. I condemn Savul and Hassan Omar remarks. This thing, I'm telling you guys, you bring a thing that looks like a puppy into your house. It grows up to be a hyena. It will eat you. And now that's what's happening.
And it'll eat you at laughing.
Yes, and laugh at you. Don't even entertain it in the beginning. So when you see it, kick it out of the door. Young Jedi, we see you. Good morning, Team Spice. Happy New Week. At least Msafiri wasn't hugged with a shoe this time. Well, okay, we see that. Elish Morano says, good morning. He had the audacity to use a UDA letterhead. Indeed, he did. Sheila Masasabi says, you're right, Nduh, the missing children is just not a priority for them. We need to undermine just for this. Yeah, if it was a priority, you would do it. Let me tell you something, guys. You see the things that you see happening. The things that you see taking up public resources, the things that you see taking up people's time, the things that you see people taking up people's policy effort, that is actually the thing that they have time for. Those are the things that have been prioritized. So when we start shouting and saying, come on, guys, the numbers are raising, the numbers are rising, the numbers are rising, they are doing the things that they prioritize. If it was a priority, they would do it.
True.
Good morning, guys. We see you coming into the room. If I didn't call you, it's not because I don't love you or we don't. Thank you so much for being here. We want to take a quick break, look at what's happening with weather traffic. We'll come back and look into the headlines. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
All right, we're looking at cloudy skies in Nairobi this morning. A chance of rain. We'll see a high of 24 and a low of 15. It's partly sunny at 14 into Nakuru, and it's cloudy at 16 in Njeri. 19 and sunny into Kisumu, while Kakamega at 14 is sunny. Partly sunny at 24 into Mombasa, and 27 and cloudy in Malindi. It's 19 and sunny into Marsabit, and 21 and cloudy in Kampala. Dar es Salaam is sunny this morning at 22, and it's 9 degrees and mostly clear in Johannesburg. And we're looking at sunny, cloudy sky, partly cloudy skies into Lagos. It is 17 and clear then, looking into London, and it's slightly lightly raining in Beijing at 20, and it's 13 and cloudy Sunday night in New York. Coming into Monday, we'll see a high of 14 and a low of 13.
Chilled Spice.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right, where are you this morning? If you're coming off of Mombasa Road, you'll see there's a little bit of traffic starting to form as you get out into the city. It's busy on Jago Road, also heading out towards Landis. There's a lot of traffic on the Thika Superhighway this morning coming through towards the Pangani Underpass. All of this coming past the Outer Ring Junction, out past the Survey, and then over the Drift there, and then through towards Moranga Road. So that's busy, and we're likely to see that it'll build up as we go along. More updates coming. It's also starting to build up on James Gishuru, so get off James Gishuru if you can now. We'll talk, keep things moving. Spice FM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Broadcasting worldwide, Spice FM.
This May, unlock endless drama every single day on StarTimes. Unrivaled stories, characters you can't forget. Recharge your monthly subscription today. More love and burning romance on Come Back to Me. Heartbreaking betrayals on Just Revenge on Novella E+. More secrets on The Brave on ST Swahili. More twists that leave you breathless on Gangs of Manila Season 3 on Novella E. Now on Nyota Bouquet on Ariel and Nova Bouquet on Dish. The drama never stops. To renew your subscription, dial *858# for self-service or get in touch with our call center on 0719-077-077 for customer care. Buy a StarTimes decoder at any of our dealer shops countrywide. Download the StarTimes On app to enjoy all your favorite shows and stream live channels on the move. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, you're tuning in this morning, and we're now going to look into the headlines. Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard, this morning, the headline reporting, Mayo axed. President William Ruto's security boss, Noah Mayo, has been removed after a man breached the presidential cordon in Kilifi and grabbed the head of state on the podium. Okay. The dramatic Ganze incident has revived concerns over repeated breaches in Nairobi, Mombasa, Migori and Wajir, despite the president being the most heavily protected individual in the country. Security experts warned the consequences could have been catastrophic had the intruder been armed or suicidal. The incident has now shifted attention to the presidential escort unit as questions mount over whether relaxed crowd controls reportedly directed by the president are compromising his own safety. Breathe. So there are snapshots there. This has happened before. Somebody threw a shoe at the president. Yep. This was in Migori
County.
Mirroring what happened with the former president. His name was what? George W. Bush. In Wajir, Noah Mayo, presidential escort unit commander. Sorry, that's the picture there. But in Wajir, somebody tried to get up on the stage and say hello to the president. Kumsalimia yani, for real. And then he was stopped. But he'd already gotten on to the podium.
Yeah.
Somebody threw a bottle of water at the president in Kibra. Anything could have been in that water bottle. These are the things that we're looking at. And then in Ganze, this guy just, decided that he was gonna, be Sir Hug-a-Lot and hug the president. These things happen really quickly. But from my understanding, that Dennis, when we used to hear about how these guys are trained, how these things should happen. I remember Okari telling us every now and then how, these guys, they know on the second. They're on their feet on the second. By the time somebody leaves where they are standing, crosses the thing, gets up onto the podium, stands up, the president acknowledges him, he goes, puts his arm around him. Where were you?
Yeah.
Because the people who took him off the podium were plainclothes.
True.
But where were you?
Where were they?
Or were you also... Because for us who are watching on TV, right, you're actually watching these things happening and you're in it's almost like you're in a trance and you're seeing it happen. But the people who are supposed to be watching the every move, where were you? Anything could have happened, and it's true. What if this gentleman was not innocent in his intent?
True.
He had a weapon, or anything could have happened.
How do you start to explain about the lapses in protecting the president?
Exactly. How? Because, like I said, sometimes you can take politics and scrunch it up and toss it out the window.
This is not about politics.
This is not
it's
about
just
that.
Protecting the head of state.
The head of state is to be protected.
Yeah.
Where were you? By the way, in other jurisdictions, there is no and see how far, what happened. Nope. Oh, please, did you? Nope. Come and come and be going. There is no question like, oh, did you follow pro? Who was up?
It actually paints a very sad and bad picture. Why do I say that? Because the president, most of the time when he's speaking, he does not speak from
inside
where he was seated.
Yes,
it's a distance most of the time in the middle, and you can imagine this person left where they were seated and ran enough meters to get to the president, and the reason why the president is usually put there is so that everybody
away
is
from
able,
people,
so that even security officers are able to cordon that area. So anyway, you could not do this with former President Moi, Kibaki.
They would have flattened you.
Kitambo sana. But
I don't know.
But then again, question someone asked me, is the president so available to Wananchi?
I don't know if it's a thing of availability that he wants to be close to the people, thereby perhaps compromising his own safety. Or that maybe, or did you forget that, hey guys, anything can happen?
Because it's also very difficult for you have to look at this thing in very many ways, because every day the president as well is out here meeting Kenyans. He's gone to this project. Are those guys choreographed and told what to do when the president is there? Could be. But when it's just a rally, the president is on top of his vehicle and is just saying hi to everybody. At that point, is that a security breach?
Yeah. I think to be honest, I think for the most part, the protection of the president is where it should be. But that's the thing, that where you say oops happened when it's not in the most time. Am I making sense?
Yes, that's the
it's
thing.
in the one time that you were not paying attention that something goes wrong. It is not the everyday ensuring of protection. It's when there is a lapse that something goes wrong.
Yes.
So the assumption is that there should not be a lapse, and that is a high threshold of responsibility that it's placed on but that's why you have your job, dude.
So
that's what I'm saying.
I have a question, Nduh, that one would ask, right, is how do these individuals advise the president in terms of his security, places you can do, what you can do, and what you can't do? Because president security, I don't think it's his matter. That is the matter of the country, the state, to make sure he's safe. Because one would see that if you read about the American situation, sorry to bring that in, but these guys determine who the president greets, where the president goes, and what he does. Is it the case here?
I can see you guys who are saying that this was all choreographed and that this is a psyop.
No, but whichever the case.
Whatever the case may be, we must talk about the fact that that must happen. That's why Museveni, in a meeting, Museveni sits in Nairobi, the rest of you are in Nakuru.
Nakuru.
Yeah. That's why. Because I don't even want to
Even
know.
if you're a journalist, a kilometer away,
You want to ask a question, use a megaphone.
Yes. Use a megaphone. And please have a mask on.
Over there.
Just, yeah.
But that's the case. Kenya among high-risk countries for Ebola spread and warns CDC Africa to get its act together. Mystery after a woman goes missing on her morning walk. Her name is Regina Wamoyo. We'll call their names. This was a month ago. If you were to be humorous, you would say that's a long morning walk. But this, even for a morning walk, is too long. April 30th is when she went on this walk. And since then, her whereabouts have gone unknown. Her name is Regina Wamoyo. Okay? She's been missing. Clinic to boost fight against gender violence. The clinic that has been opened by Nandi County Secretary Francis Sang, receiving the keys to a GBV clinic during handover ceremony at Nandi Hospital last week. Court orders release of body held over bill. That might be something that's done. We'll probably see that with more regularity. Ruto security on the spot after man walks onto stage during Coast Rally. And again, I see the thoughts about this being stage managed. Gideon Moy says, prioritize service to the people, shun divisive politics. Cabinet secretaries, top officials plot political comeback in 2027. If they're going to plot political comeback, it's possible that we will see the resignation of a number of cabinet secretaries, because we know that the threshold of time is coming to a head there. I think it's it's 6 months to the official campaign season. Oh, by the way, IEBC has not declared the open season.
Yes.
Just in case you are wondering. So a lot of the things that are going on are quote unquote illegalities. But when they do, cabinet secretaries have 6 months to then, if they're going to ask for positions, they must resign.
Tell me about the technocrats that we have in our cabinets.
What would you want me to tell you about them?
That headline says a lot.
Yeah, well,
it actually does say a lot. These are guys who are just there for some good vibes, and inshallah, when the time comes, we'll go back to what it is we know how to do.
This is true. Did you know that there's been a 7-year dusk to dawn curfew in Lamu and Tana River? 7-year dusk to dawn curfew, Lamu, Tana River. Well, the court has lifted it. I don't know that folks have been adhering to the tenets of this dusk to dawn curfew.
Tana River?
In the last 7 years, I've been in Lamu.
Where exactly in Tana River?
After dusk.
Is it some parts of
Maybe
this
some
counties?
parts, it is. It's some parts. All right.
Yeah, because I remember there's a time I was in Tana River and
no, it was past dusk. Okay.
Acha tuniseme. Maybe it's some parts of Tana River and Lamu, not all, not blanket emergency across the county.
Of course it is.
Yes.
Of course. There's some parts that you will not be able to drive if you're driving from Mombasa to Lamu, for example, that you had to do that before 3 o'clock, because after that you would not be able to.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Let's go to Daily Nation. Ruto allies hype vote rigging plots. Leaders allied to President William Ruto are boldly touting vote rigging as a strategy to force his re-election, with Kakamega Deputy Governor Ayub Savul and Hamisi MP Charles Gemose, the latest to join a growing chorus to ensure the incumbent retains power at all cost. The utterances of infuriated opposition leaders who claim the government is setting the stage for a rigging vote. So there we have the images of Hamisi MP Charles Gemose, as well as Kakamega Deputy Governor Ayub Savula and Wajir woman Representative Fatuma Abdi Jehu. You remember that statement that she made? Yes. Then we have Kapseret MP Oscar Sudi Isipoja tutajaza. Then Tiati MP William Kamtetu said, I come from Baringo, where we are known for having presidents for 24 years. So we also know how that can be done. A lot to be said. And IEBC, what's your position on this? What's your position on what is being said?
Hello, NCIC.
NCIC. Knock, knock, knock. State seeks 2.7 billion shillings for AI surveillance on social media users. Yes. The government is seeking 2.7 billion shillings to purchase artificial intelligence software for social media analysis, media and customer relations management, and to operationalize the National Communication Center.
Hatuna pesa ya hiyo tafadhali. Tuko na watoto ambaye hawajapatikana.
Kabisa.
Please. Yeah. They want to start spying on Kenyans.
2.7 billion shillings, you can use that for many other things. And I'm sorry to say, you're already spying on us anyway. You're spying on us anyway. So stop trying to say we are not spying on you, so we need some more money to buy something. No, you're already spying. So just keep doing that. That 2.7 billion shillings, take it to healthcare, education. Yeah, hiyo inaweza tusaidia sana. How Kenya sharp boys abetted 12 billion shillings US scam.
Swallow.
Siwalo. Now, the U.S. Department of Education in May 2025 revealed the American government had lost nearly $90 million, that is 11.6 billion shillings, in disbursement of student aid to undeserving individuals. Now, among the fraudsters were dozens of Kenyans who bought identities of U.S. citizens and secured loans without ever having to step into the lecture halls.
Ango.
Yeah. So I'm Dennis Aseto, right? I get to the United States of America and I'm Dennis Aseto from Delaware in the United States of America. With everything in check, I get the money, but lecture hall, no. Yes, so the U.S. Department has found that, and for some weird reason, they've actually won that case. So, you know. Yeah, so Arsenal fans serve EPL win in style. So that is, hey, watu walienda kanisa na Jay-Z.
Boss.
Yes. You know, tulienda kushukuru Mungu because Arsenal actually have been going to church to pray, like, please. They even give, I would not say sacrifices, but gifts to church so that they can win.
So they had to go back to church to say thank you.
To say thank you.
All right.
Yes. Now, MPs won Treasury over 4.82 trillion shillings budget. Now, Middle East crisis casts shadow over Kenya's budget amid global shocks. So, wanasema mfuko tayari, haina kitu. Ukiongeza ushuru, utatumiza zaidi. So let's just see how that conversation will come, as well as knowing that Kenyans have started the reject finance bill conversations.
Yes.
So let's see how FCPA John Badi is planning to handle this.
Led by one Kalonzo Musyoka.
Yes.
Goes without saying.
Yes. So let's look at the Star.
All right. So the big headline on the Star this morning is taxation jitters rock finance bill. These are the questions that folks are asking. Why should KRA look into my M-Pesa? Why should they have that surveillance tool? It's in the finance bill, by the way. We're looking at increased monies that you have to spend state to target offshore investment, gamblers and jua kali. So looking to widen the tax base, this is the way they're going to go for it. Relocation of jumbos to safeguard lines and prevent injuries. We heard the president talk when he was at the coast over the weekend, and he said that that they were going to build a fence.
Yes.
Yeah, they're going to build a fence so that you stop the jumbos from coming into your farmland. And this has been a conversation for the longest time, especially in this area. Taveta is an issue, Kwale, Shimba Hills, that whole area. So they wanted to, it's interesting that we see this picture.
Who's in whose land though?
We are in the elephant's land though.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that. Take it as you wish. Now we cross the entire elephant land, I beg.
Yeah.
Inside PS Kilemi's reform agenda to shake up the coffee and Sacco sectors. So that's also there in the headlines. Kanja orders reshuffle of Ruto security guards after Kilifi church drama. And so this shake-up came from the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja. It wasn't the president saying, sack him, how dare they? No. Douglas Kanja said, okay, we're going to move things around a little bit.
Where was AD camp?
I don't know. ADC. I don't know. Where was ADC? Oh, ADC. Where were you? Usually standing behind him.
Yeah.
Or is that only in an official... Is it only in an official engagement?
Is there any time when the president is not in anything official?
I don't know, man.
Does AD Camp's role
change
disappear because you're in a church?
When is the last time you saw the ADC behind him in church?
I can't remember.
Very rare.
Is that by design? Has it always been like that?
Think it.
Okay.
I didn't know. KCB investors walk away with fat wallets after pay. KCB, I've seen you. It's the headline. It's me who's reading the headline. So those are some of the stories that we're looking at into the Star today. Budget debate high on agenda as MPs resume. MPs are coming back. Parliament is out of recess, coming back this week. And the budget is the big thing that they'll be looking into. I want to remember, today is the 25th of May. It's the last day for your submissions on what you feel about the finance bill. Remember that Parliament will come back and they will debate the finance bill. And they will take... Okay, they're supposed to take your submissions into consideration as they then debate this on the floor of the House. After that, they will then decide, because they're lawmaking, and if anything is to change for whatever reason, they will then change it, and then this will become an act, and it is then what will give life to the budget. Okoh. So please remember, today is the last day. Submit your submissions, if you can say that. Today, the East Africa, for the week, the East African looks into Ebola shocks. It's one that's covering the region.
Yep.
U.S. sanctions Tanzania officials over rights abuse. And they've said, excuse me, there was a little bit of an issue. How about we come and have a conversation about that, okay? Kenya raises SGR freight fees 12% on fuel cost. Kenya Railways in April implemented a new freight rate that will be determined on the monthly adjustments. So in case you're wondering what that looks like, that's a conversation that's already in the offing. And how KRA fights triggered fresh taxes in finance bill. So you people can agree it or you can refuse it. So that's a big one there. In a period where we are starting to see generational transfer of wealth in Africa, there is something to watch and learn from family officers. This is Carol Musyoka's comment that's taken off of Intelligence Opinion on page 9 of the Business Daily. So those are some of the stories that we're looking at. Those are the ones making headlines today. And the front page of the Standard is a story that many people are having their knickers in a twist over and saying that this is not true. But okay, I want to look for 1 minute at this story. KANU Chairman Gideon Moi has called on political leaders across the country to focus on serving the people and fulfilling promises made during election campaigns instead of engaging in divisive politics. That somebody has to say that, hoping that somebody will listen. I think it's a bit it's a bit scary.
Yeah.
That you have to be reminded about your job. And that you should not be politicking all the time. That perhaps there's this little number of 55 million people that need to be ensured that certain things that are guaranteed to them under the Constitution are actually done. And that you as the vanguard or the protector of their money and their laws will actually ensure that it is done. That somebody has to remind you about that. Might have a bit of a problem, no?
Nduh, one asks the question then, as Kenyans, do we ever demand for value for money? Because every other time we will vote people in, people will get into these offices, but the services that they offer to us, we've always complained that they do not meet the threshold. What then should we or must we do, other than just voting in, voting out, but demanding that? We say money follows function. Yes. So if that money did not follow in function, and money was actually spent,
remove the person who was supposed to do the function.
Remove the person and to return that money.
Bas, Shasema.
Eh.
Good morning. 7 o'clock.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is the news. I'm Sheila Tembor. The government has allocated 315 million shillings for the construction of a fence to prevent wildlife, especially elephants, from invading farms and harassing residents in Kilifi County. President William Ruto says the project is aimed at reducing human-wildlife conflict following complaints from residents over crop destructions and loss of lives caused by wild animals.
Sasa tuko na pesa milioni 315 ya kuweka ua fence kilomita 140 kuzuia ndovu wakae huko porini na nyinyi muendelee na mashamba yenu hapa na kulima. Director General wa KWS anatengeneza kandarasi kuanzia mwezi wa 7, mtaona hapa Contractor anaweka hiyo ua, ndio tumalize kabisa hii shida ya nyinyi kupanda mimea yenu, alafu kwa siku moja, 2, 3 wanyama wa pori ndovu wanakuja wanaziharibu.
Speaking in Ganze, Kilifi County, Ruto also assured residents that the government will address long-standing land disputes and end the problem of squatter settlements in the coastal region.
Nimetoa pesa ya serikali tununue haya mashamba kutoka hawa absentee landlords, alafu tuwapatie wananchi hati miliki, na nimesema hiyo kazi ifanyike ndani ya siku 90. Mimi narudi hapa kupatiana title deeds 200,000 kwa wananchi ambao sasa ni masquatter. That is how we are going to change this coast province. Citizens must live with certainty. They must plan with certainty.
His remarks were echoed by Senate Speaker Amason Kingi.
Vita vake na alikuwa deputy president vilianzia hapo usawa. Wakati yeye anataka kuleta maendeleo kila pembe ya Kenya, yule deputy president wake anaambia wale hawana shares. Huyu Tungule huyu aliwahi kunyimwa chakula cha msaada, relief food, na makamu wa rais, sababu aliyekuwa makamu wa rais. Na sababu kubwa kunyimwa relief food ila lete Ganze ni kwa sababu watu wa Ganze wanaambiwa kwamba hawana shares. Na mimi nataka niwaambie wakazi wa Ganze na Pwani, hakuna rais tangu tupate marais, hakuna serikali tangu tuone serikali ambayo imemimina pesa nyingi za maendeleo hapa Pwani kushinda serikali ya Mheshimiwa William Ruto. Hakuna.
The family of former Matungu MP David Were is mourning the death of his 39-year-old son Hannington Were, who was killed by unknown assailants in Kisumu. Hannington was reportedly attacked on Sunday night by 2 motorcycle-riding assailants while in the company of his friend Peter Mutua. Mutua said the attackers assaulted Were before he escaped to seek help. Were was rushed to Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital where he later died from stab wounds.
Ni kitu ya huzuni. Hiyo simu tumepokea, tulikuwa na mama akavunjika. Mimi nikapata nguvu, nikasema wacha niende mwenyewe nijione kama ni kweli Hannington ambaye hata nilikuwa nimeongea na alikuwa nimepigia Wednesday.
Nobody can give us exactly what has happened to him. He's not there. Ameshinda kwa nyumba. Only usiku anatoka anaenda na the next thing tunapigiwa simu tunaambiwa amekufa. Honestly, tumekosea mtu. My husband was a politician. Baba, have you ever at anybody? Sijaona. We have settled. This is not fair. It's not fair.
His mother, Jane Okoh, expressed grief over the loss, noting that another one of her sons who had previously been killed in Nairobi.
Hatuna sababu. We can't explain. Tunaamusha usiku. Fulana ameuliwa. Tunaamusha usiku. The wives are crying. Like the first one, the wife cries mpaka anakauka. Haelewangi vile bwana yake alikufa. The same killer, they know. The police, they know. I went to the police station who visited the scene and they told me it is true. They did what our daughter told us. Waliingia kwa nyumba, wakapembeleza the killer akaambiwa alale na akaingia kwa kitanda akalala. And my daughter-in-law was told, carry your husband mwekele kwa coach. Somebody broken kwa shingo, mikono, bafu, anabebwa na bibi, awekele kwa mesa, kwa coach. Na wakashika njia wakaenda. Baka wa leo, you want to tell me there's nobody who can tell us the truth.
And that's the news. I'm Sheila Tembor.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Every time he kept on saying he wants a vibrant opposition.
How does it make sense that public money has been used already and then they dare to sell it back to you? Why are they not giving them for free?
That's how broken we are. That's how broken we are.
They're being sent home now for fees. They're going to fail to prepare. We are compromising the futures of these children.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Parliament has got powers. Let me break it down. The National Assembly can initiate an impeachment of the president.
This same National Assembly.
Yes.
That's our constitution.
Because this is just a continuation of the previous administration, which Ruto was part of. President Uhuru himself openly said that we're losing 2 billion daily. Daily. I mean, come on. Are you saying that we don't have a central bank?
If we look at Kenya, both public-private sector, that figure is ranging between 30 to 40%, right?
I think it's clear that the government of Kenya is living beyond its means.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Baba should disown these experts and say they went there on the, because he keep on telling us that these experts just you came from Dubai and you found them there already at State House looking for jobs.
Government has to has to introduce austerity measures. It's something that this government and the previous ones have not been able to do in this country. We've talked about it so many times.
And really, I think you have seen the modus operandi of William Samoei Ruto since he came in. It's just showbiz.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
A very good morning to you, and we're coming in at 8 minutes after 7 o'clock. This is the Situation Room on this Monday. It's the 25th of May, and far be it from me to step aside from reminding you that this is the last day that you have for your submissions around the Finance Bill 2026. So the questions around how you can give your submissions, we'll share that information with you, but it's the last day that you have to then be able to do that. If you're going to accept it, if you're going to assent to it, if there are things that you think that need to be changed, if what you hear is not making sense to you, if it is making sense to you, your submissions need to go. Because in a couple of days from now, Parliament will, rather the National Assembly will begin to debate this. And when it becomes law, after they've debated whether they've added or thrown out anything, there's really nothing that you can do about it after that. So no time like the present, folks. Get into it and get at it. Sawa. All right. This hour, we're looking at Game Plan 2027. ODM wrangles, fuel crisis, and Rigath's return. Okay. He's back, eh? All right. Either way, we're looking at this. Joining us, two gentlemen this morning. The political risk analyst, Dismas Okoh is here.
Yes.
I got it right this time. The demonstrative article is necessary, apparently, in this titling. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm on top of the world. Thank you.
Not a bad place to be.
Not a bad place to be, indeed. But Dr. Hesbon Owilla is a communication and political analyst. Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Santa sana.
I don't know what part of the world you're on, but, you know.
Top of Suna.
The most important thing is being in the world.
Karibu sana, both of you. Thank you for being here. As you know, we go to a different African country, and I keep telling everybody that, you know, when Dennis goes, the chocolates are for me. The proverbs are for you to then interpret.
So today we are in the Gambia. One thing that stands out about the Gambia is everybody across the world goes to elections and votes using a ballot paper. They don't. They use pebbles. And that has continued to determine who will lead that country for a very long time. It is also one of the smallest countries in the continent in terms of land size, 2.8 million people. That would be quarter the population in Nairobi. No. But let's go to the proverb. It is the woman whose child has been eaten by a witch who best knows the evils of witchcraft. Daktari.
How would you interpret it? Repeat it again.
It is the woman whose child has been eaten by a witch who best knows the evils of witchcraft.
Well, I think it talks about experience, that you can only understand something once you have experienced it. And I think if I situate it within the Kenyan context, it was good while we were waiting for this regime. Now that we understand what it is delivering on us, we are better informed of the experiences of just making decisions without thinking through in an election.
Dismas Mokwa, analyze the risk.
I'll not look at the political risks. I would just say that if you were to talk to Shakespeare, I would say experience is the best teacher. That is the closest I would come to.
Indeed, for sure. All right.
So are the chocolates?
Chocolates.
The caveat was
chocolates are for you. Yes.
Interpretation. Game Plan 2027. The IEBC is yet to pronounce itself and say, okay, guys, open and start to campaign. But that notwithstanding, that's going on anyway. And we see a lot of things happening at the same time. There are very many layers to this, and some dangerous, which we can actually have a conversation around. But Game Plan 2027 already has so many things in the pot, whether we're looking at the tribal innuendo that's being pushed certain quarters, and on both sides, or not just both sides, because then that would mean that there are only two people in the running. On all sides. Wrangles within specific political parties that have seen to be, or have been seen to be front runners when it comes to a political contest, whether we see what it means when fuel prices go high, and sometimes we forget that everybody then bears the brunt of, a difficult situation in the country. So Game Plan 2027, when we went into the election in 2022, it was very clear that it was going to be a decision that was made on the economy, and that putting money in the pockets of Kenyans was going to be a priority, and that the person who was going to at least show that they were going to do this is the person who won the votes. How does it look? We'll start with you, Dr. Owilla. How does it look now? Who's the person who then will win the hearts of Kenyans by what they say?
I think it's still very grey in terms of who that person is. Because if you look at the opinion polls, if you look at the sentiments on the ground, then you look at what the political players are doing, there isn't an outright front runner. The latest, I think, had the president leading, but then cumulatively you look at what all the different opposition figures had, it's far much more than what the president has, and if you combine, they pretty much have around 52% of the vote. But that's pretty much, just numbers on paper, which can't tell you who is likely to win. But looking at that data and what politicians have been doing, you can easily tell that the problem is not really the who. The problem is there's something Kenyans are looking for, and it is not clear who is providing that. So from the opposition end, they're giving us a very interesting cliche, Ruto must go. And you ask yourself, is that really what Kenyans are looking for? And it is not, and I don't think they've realized that. So the messaging has to go beyond Ruto must go. And then what makes it even difficult for the opposition is the fact that while they've not figured out what kind of messaging and what they need to give Kenyans, incumbents all over the world, what they normally do is that they ensure that the last few years into an election, all their programs, all their agenda revolves around winning that election. So if you look at the disorganization within the opposition, you look at what the opinion polls are showing, it pretty much tells you that it gives President William Ruto enough time to organize himself. Whether he does that or not is a question that we'll wait and see. But ultimately, he sits in a very precarious position because, one, just like you said, when we were going to vote in 2022, we were looking at the game plan that was going to give us money in our pocket, sort our economy. And I think the promises that he made were extremely concrete. They were real. I mean, there are things that we could easily...
You could imagine them.
Yes, we could imagine them.
Yeah.
We could see that, for 60 years we've had this dynastic rule. And it was something that you could actually go back and say, yeah, but this is true. It's a clique of rich people who've been ruling this country and they've taken us nowhere. So we were a lot more optimistic. We thought that things would change radically. And the tragedy for him right now is that it's not like other presidents who promises things that we couldn't touch, gave us nothing, but still left us where we were. We are worse off than we were before, despite those promises. So he has a couple of months to fix that. And you see, the beauty of it is he took us so low that if he uplifts us just a little bit, I think people will see that difference. Now, being in that situation for him gives him an advantage that he's got everything he can work around against an opposition that seems to be shooting in the dark. How successful he's going to be in doing that, I think for me, is not really what he does, but how he manages to convince people, not by telling people what he will do. He manages to convince people between now and the election day that I promised you money in your pocket, and money comes to our pocket. And I think without money coming to our pocket, without people realizing that, the economic difficulties, the cost of life that went high, was pretty much a question of us adjusting. So it goes down, and then he can tell us, I told you it was gonna be painful for some time, but things are now working. If that does not work, I think it will be very, very difficult for him to come with another promise. There has to be something concrete. People must have money in their pockets. People must continue saving like they were saving, because in the last 3 years, I think we started digging into our savings instead of saving more. Yet this is a regime that told us you're going to have money in your pockets.
Yeah. You see, it also comes at the backdrop where Kenyans are saying we needed to feel the money in our pockets immediately you got in. Because what happened immediately after that, we saw taxes go up. And that was contrary to what it is the president had promised. That, together with the fact that today you just speak to a Kenyan, who are you voting for? They will say, I do not know who I'm voting for, but I know exactly who I'm not voting for.
Yes.
And that could go either way, either opposition or be the president, whichever way you want to look at it. It is not clear on who exactly Kenyans are talking about. Now, with that statement right there, is the political class looking at that and positioning themselves as being the person that Kenyans will start saying, I know exactly who I'm voting for, even as I know exactly who I'm not voting for?
Well, Kenyans have got an insatiable appetite for instant coffee and instant tea. But understand, turning around the economy requires for you to brew the coffee. Mm-hmm. You recall when President Ruto and his deputy were being sworn in at Kasarani, while President Ruto was diplomatic, his deputy was not. He said they've gone to the granary and there's nothing. There even no rats because there's no maize to be eaten. So he really painted a very bad picture. And I recall Musalia Mudavadi saying that things are going to get worse before they can get better. That they needed to do a lot of policy corrections and policy reviews. You recall the subsidies that they did. And at that stage, people said, wait a minute, we'll give you a number of years. And it's Musalia Mudavadi who said that it may take up to 3 years for them to turn around. Like, for instance, if you remember the issue of maize, there was a subsidies offered for consumption, but they said we are going to review it. It's going to be for production. So understand now people can easily afford ugali. And understand from a food security perspective, it must be affordable and it must be available. Yeah, but when you look at Kenyans from 1963, when we go to the ballots, it's almost a vote of anger. People go there fuming, managing blood pressure, managing all manner of lifestyle conditions, and they're doing press-ups. So it's a vote of anger. So people are generally annoyed every time they cast their ballots. And if our democracy was to grow, we should be voting for. And as Dr. Owilla has indicated here, the United Opposition has indicated times above number that it's going to be one term. But a prudent practitioner or a scholar of politics will ask, so what? what happens after, if President Ruto does one term, what happens? And in my view, the challenge we have in Kenya is around systems and infrastructure we have put around leadership, and that is what must be corrected. And in my view, if anybody expects to be a president, rather win the elections next year, by simply using the ethnic card, then they'll be in a state of shock. And that is what part of the opposition has been doing. You recall a gentleman called Mr. Rigathi Gachagua. Last time when he went to the US, he met members from one particular ethnic group. And when he was in the UK a few days ago, it was the same thing and the same message. So it seems to me that what he places on the table is an ethnic card. And people from his background who do not support him are quickly branded as traitors. So one begins to wonder, when you've got a divergent view, are you branded as a traitor? And understand the Kenyan constitution says that freedom of association, movement, and as you deem fit. But for President Ruto to retain his position, he must engage in strategic communications. And I think that is where somebody like Professor Owilla comes in. Because right now, if you go to any market, understand even the US, which has got oil, people are complaining about the cost of oil at the pump. If you go to many countries, even including Angola, people are really complaining. But then Kenyans must understand that these are geopolitical variables outside the control of President Ruto. That would be number one. And then number two, the cost of fuel, which goes everywhere. Matatus are normally very happy to increase the fares, but are reluctant to reduce it. People say that now you need to reduce the tax component. So if you're going to have that conversation, and you recall Mr. Mbadi came up with some provisions around VAT to reduce that cost, but people must say, then are we going to make a sacrifice? Because I see wherever the president goes, people wanasema tunaomba barabara, tunataka hospitali, but they don't make the connection that if you want those barabaras and hospitalis, then it's your tax. So in my view, there is need of having a national conversation and ask ourselves, what do we really want as a nation?
But taxation,
and where do you want to go?
The proceeds of taxation are not towards development. It doesn't happen anywhere. Taxation proceeds are not for development. Taxation proceeds are supposed to actually make sure that the lights are on, the water's running. Yes. If you're looking for development, that is now when you go for loans. Am I wrong, Dr. Miller? Am I wrong?
You're right. And as a student of, as an accountant, when you are engaging in, when you are coming up with tax, if you use the best practices, like in the Nordic countries, you never hear anybody complaining about tax.
That is because you can see the direct result of taxation.
Not even see.
You can feel
you can actually
it.
touch.
Your children, you don't pay school fees until your children turn 18. And even then, there are state programs whereby at the varsity, university, tertiary level, that you can almost go and pay nothing for your children to even go to university. That you will actually walk into hospital and you don't have to pay another dime. So the taxation to 50, 60% some cases, but you don't worry because the remaining 30% is actually for you to do with as you will, because you don't have to pay for these other amenities. And I think that's the difference here. Yeah. That you should be able to experience the result of the heavy taxation. And unfortunately, we're not seeing that.
Yeah, the obtaining situation in Kenya sadly is, like for instance, after paying all these taxes, then when you go back to where you stay in the estate, then you have to pay for security, then you have to pay for garbage collection, then you have to do all these kind of things, which becomes double, essentially. I don't know whether it's double taxation, but people are really being squeezed.
Maybe triple.
Maybe triple, yeah. And I think it's that place whereby now, as a nation, we need to have that honest conversation and understand that it's about systems. It's not about personalities. And among the people who have presented themselves to become president, who is that personality who can crack down on the cartels, the corruption cartels, and the special interest groups? In my view, that is where we are going to win. And the people must demonstrate what they've done in the past and what they can do in future. Because in the Nordic countries, I've had relatives and I've had the benefit of going to that country. People are very excited. I even understand some other countries. People actually, if the tax authorities give you a lower value, no, it was not supposed to be 10,000, it's 20,000. So you volunteer because you know the value of this tax. That is why in some countries like Israel, the tax compliance is extremely high because people know the value of their tax. But in Kenya, as in many other parts of West Africa, I'm not going to name those specific countries, people are reluctant to pay taxes because they say, I'm going to pay this tax, and then I'm going to see people, jumping around from one county to another in choppers, people leading some funny lifestyles, people that are before an election, they couldn't afford a cup of tea, as we normally say at a 5-star hotel, but now they can buy a 5-star hotel. So even when the president tells us to tighten our belts, we need to see that from State House, and we need to see that from public servants of rank.
Dr. Owilla, I'm looking then at a situation where the opposition, because there's the incumbent, it's clear that he will run for another term, right? But everybody else who's running seems to be coalesced around this idea that in order for them, whoever them will be, to come in and do the next that you're talking about, the first thing that needs to happen is that he must go. Is that enough of an action in this period? Is that enough of a campaign strategy? Is that enough of an idea for everybody to say, you know what, first of all, let's get equilibrium in the room first before we tell you what we're going to do. Let's get the kid in the room who is tossing everything about out of the room. Is that enough, or must there really be more?
I mean, it's let me say that it's enough. It's a good strategy. It's only that it's a good strategy for 2 term, not 1 term. It's a strategy that only works for President William Ruto. If they keep this conversation around, the bottom line is President William Ruto must go, and that's what they bandy around in their public rallies. That's what they say everywhere they go. They go to churches, funerals, barasas. That's what they say. That gives President William Ruto a very easy sail for a 2nd term. And why am I saying that? Because it has reached a point where Kenyans are not interested in who goes and who does not go. Kenyans are looking for someone who will offer a tangible solutions. We've been told time above numbers that we are losing billions. I think now it's 1 trillion through corruption. So Kenyans are not going to listen to someone who is talking about President William Ruto must go unless this person has a coherent message on how we're going to fight corruption. Kenyans are not going to listen to, 1 term Ruto must go unless you talk to us about the creation of jobs for the many young people who since 2023 have been going to the streets. I think before the election, they were going to the streets saying Atupangwingwi. And they defied President Uhuru Kenyatta, who warned us against this regime and voted for this regime. And then immediately after this regime, they realized that it was good while they were waiting. Things are not, they went to the streets. So this is a group of people that I don't think they will be easily told Ruto must go, and then they come out and vote out President William Ruto. I think that's the first thing that I see, that, this 1 term thing, Ruto must go work for President William Ruto, because it keeps all these guys busy without giving Kenyans something that is tangible. Then the second thing I see is, this illusion that the opposition has that they have numbers is just 1 step. It's like the starting point. It's not the finishing line. And if they were prudent enough and helping Kenyans understand that this is a regime that needs to go home, they ought to be telling us, 1, what are the critical indicators that Kenyans need to hang on so that rage is sustained up to the next election? They're not telling us that. I mean, we keep hopping from one thing to another. Right now, everyone in Kenya is talking about the fuel crisis. People have forgotten there's so many things that led the Gen Zs to the streets in 2024 and 2025. So if you look at the strategy that they have, you realize that they have a strategy that is taking them nowhere, but it is a strategy that is reminding President William Ruto what to do. In 2024, what did President William Ruto do? He realized that he was on the verge of losing the young generation. Right now, because of the programs that they've initiated, including the Nyota Fund, the almost 1.3 billion that Treasury, released to just take care of the youth economic initiatives all over this country. And right now, we are talking about young people who are beginning to doubt whether it is prudent to send President William Ruto home. They're beginning to say, by the way, this guy is trying. He's gone around the country initiating these Nyota funds. So what am I saying? In simple, the opposition has to wake up. They have to understand that they have to start articulating a coherent vision. They have to start talking about governance and corruption. They have to start talking about how they're going to empower young people. But most importantly, they have to unite. That messaging has to be the same message that is passed across in every other platform by each and every individual opposition candidate. As it is right now, if you listen to all of them, whether it is Matiang'i you're listening, Kalonzo you're listening to, Sifuna you're listening to because he's joined that bandwagon, the sense you get is these are people who are so entitled and they're thinking that they are the first among unequals. And I think that plays into an assailable pathway for President William Ruto.
Dismas, should the opposition then, with the different messaging that we have and the calls for unity for them to come together, is it about time that they gave us who it is they're supporting so that they start building their attack pretty much at President William Ruto for 2027? Or is it too early? Because many are saying, why are you guys pushing us? We will tell you when the right time comes. At the moment, we are consolidating and fixing our house so that we can come to Kenyans as well. Have Kenyans bought into the idea of the opposition as it is? Because on the contrary, many are saying it's just the same people, a different camp.
Absolutely. I mean, if I was part of the strategy team, I would name the opposition candidate on the 11th hour, the last minute, so that President Ruto doesn't have his strategy, his trend there. I would stretch it to the last mail. I wouldn't do it very early in the day.
Yeah.
And then again, as they ask in West Africa, when politicians tell you to unite, you need to become very nervous. You need to be worried. Unite for what? That should be the sole question. Mm-hmm. Now, this message of must go is not exactly a new message. You recall when President Moi took office, then people said he was a passing cloud. Then they said he must go. He went on to be president for 24 years. When Kibaki took office, people were dancing in the streets saying Kibaki must go, Kibaki must go. He served for 2 terms. The same thing for President Kenyatta. So this must go has become part of our political culture and political slogan. And it counts for nothing unless it's anchored in substance. Like, for instance, when you listen to a number of the leading opposition candidates, one would say, like say Mr. Rigathi Gachagua, when he says Ruto must go, he wants to settle personal scores because he says that he's had an history with President Ruto and he wants to use 2027 to settle personal scores. But a prudent scholar or a practitioner would ask, why do you want the entire nation to assist you settle personal scores? If we assist you settle personal scores, how does that benefit Mura, who has just woken up in Mososho, maybe on an empty stomach? How does that benefit Alima? How does that support the healthcare reforms? Which is why anytime we hear anybody saying Ruto must go, sit back and ask, is this your policy alternative? Is this your policy proposal that he must go? Because if he goes, so what? You expect a number of these leaders to run away from the lazy matrix and give solutions.
What's the solution? And I think we say that all the time. Sorry.
Yeah,
what would a solution be? And I don't know, it just seemed to kind of make sense to me that if you see that let's not even talk about the things that are going wrong. Let's talk about the things that he said that he would do, and that we seem to be in perpetual promise making. Even as of this weekend, the president continued to make promises about the things that he would do, and says by July there would be an entire fence that's going to be erected from here to here and to stop the jumbos from crossing over into farmland. Okay, so the perpetual promise making seems to be where things are at the moment. But my question is, if you say that you must go is not enough. It's
not sufficient.
And you say that other solutions then must be given. What is that?
Like, for instance, when everybody says that we need to fix the cost of energy in Kenya, you would expect the united opposition to give tangible, saying a litre is going for 1,000 bob. If you want to reduce it to 200, this the impact is going to have in the economy, and this is how we are going to reduce it. I've seen a gentleman called Nduh Nyoro attempting to come up with those policy proposals or alternatives and placing them in the table. But if you look at more mature democracies, like maybe in the UK or the US, when Labour comes up with a position, then the Conservatives give something that you can actually touch. Even in the US, the Republicans and Democrats. But when
I'm sorry, I'm going to hold on to that.
Yeah.
how often do we see that where there's a policy position that's taken, for example, the example that you've given, the Democrats and the Conservatives, if you have the ruling Conservatives and they give Republicans and there's a policy position that they have taken, if the Democrats come up with an alternative, how often do we see that the Republicans say, actually, you know what, Dems, that's a great idea. Let's take that and let us institute it. How often do we see that happening?
Well, there's actually in the US there's often triangulation, and I remember there were issues around healthcare, and Bill Clinton, being a Democrat, he took the idea suggested by Republicans, polished them kidogo, and he owned them. And we expect that to happen in Kenya, because if you are a leader and you're telling us you're going to hit the ground running from day one, and you're not giving us, Kenyans are, on average, every Kenyan is very literate. They can appreciate policy ideas. People can debate them. So if you're saying that one term, people will ask you, so what? Now give us proposals. Okay. And expect all these leaders to be like Ndindi Nyoro and attempt to give us proposals.
Okay, so I'm just going to hold you to that, Dismas.
Yes.
So Ndindi Nyoro, actually, interestingly enough, has given, not a suggestion, has given a formula that would actually work. And it mirrors what President Ruto actually said when he was still deputy president. It mirrors to the letter what he said needs to happen in the energy sector. Now, let's not say perhaps. Let's talk about it right here, right now. What would stop a lawmaking body, Parliament, from taking what Ndindi Nyoro had? He didn't keep it to himself. He did not write it in his journal and do it under the cover of his duvet in his house. No, he was very public, and he went down to the numbers, and he said, if we want to see fuel come down to 185 shillings, this is what you do. And the state can still make money and you can cushion it for Kenyans. Why wouldn't the government that you talk about as an example say, actually, you know what, guys? This is a good idea. Let's take it, tweak it a little bit, like you said, polish it, and then implement it. Why wouldn't they do that?
Well, I understand that proposals then must follow the parliamentary procedures that are...
Why wouldn't they do that?
Now, has he had a conversation with the majority leader or minority leader?
Yes,
he has. The National Assembly?
Yes, he has.
He has done that.
Sat and he had a meeting before the Energy Committee. He summoned and said,
he spoke with Kimani Ichung'wah,
can I present to the Energy Committee? He also said, can we also speak with the folks at Budget and Appropriations? He went and he had a press conference and he spoke to people in public. So if you see that people are always saying, well, you tell us to do better, but you don't give us solutions. Okay, just one example. This is a solution. The question is, why wouldn't an economy people-facing government now say, actually, you know what? This makes sense. From a man who used to chair this committee.
Well, you know that some politicians who come up with populist moves, but they don't go to the next level. I understand if you want this thing to happen, you must go using the parliamentary traditions, conventions, and the best practices. That a news conference is not sufficient.
No, and I told you.
Look for a majority leader. Look for your minority leader.
What he did in addition to that is that he made it known to the Energy Committee and the Budget and Appropriations Committee. My question is, if truly the thing is to run away from the politics and say, let us find a solution, why wouldn't they pick up on this very clear solution? Dr. Owilla, maybe you can help.
Yeah, well, Dismas has a point. The ideal is very simple. And it doesn't have to be Ndindi Nyoro. Anyone can come up with a proposal, and the parliamentary procedures are very clear. Take it to parliament, it goes through the entire motion, and it is adopted. So on the one hand, there's a problem because it is not going to see the light of day on the floor of parliament simply because we have a regime that wants to get its way. And that is not the only problem. The other problem is, ask yourself, if you have an opposition that is solid and this opposition is speaking the language that is supposed to benefit Mwananchi, it is also incumbent upon them to pick ideas like Ndindi Nyoro's ideas. Because you're not going to allow any other individual with brilliant ideas to hog the show and have no institutionalized way of pushing it. I am sure if these brilliant ideas were harnessed, by the luminaries in opposition, it would have more clout and have more stature to be tabled in parliament. I'm reminded of the NAC era when Kanu was in opposition and Kibaki had a regime that was in power. It was a very solid, shadow cabinet,
yes.
And the finance shadow cabinet minister back then, Bill Okero, was very solid with ideas, and he used to articulate them on the floor of parliament. And Kibaki, being the prudent president that he was, benefited from those ideas. I think so. If you look at what is happening today, I think we have a president who probably wouldn't want anyone to steal the show. He would want to be the alpha and omega of all this. So even every brilliant idea that originates from any other quarters, individuals will end up getting frustrated. And I think that's the frustration we have with the opposition, that the opposition has not harnessed divergent opinion and put them together in such a way that it becomes impossible for parliament to repulse that. Because you can't tell me that all these big leaders don't have members of parliament who are following them. So why would members of parliament, for instance, make noise in a rally with Kalonzo Musyoka, others make noise with Matiang'i, others with Rigiji, instead of harnessing ideas? For the last few years, our expectation was very simple. There's a lot that this regime has done that probably raises a lot of questions in the minds of so many Kenyans. Up to 7. If you start with the cost of living that has gone high, the introduction of very dubious levies on our pay slips like the housing levy, without a very clear pathway on how that will benefit Kenyans. I think the president started by saying that we are building houses for poor people. Rich people don't want poor people to have houses. Then he moved and said, oh no, we are creating jobs. This housing is not just about housing. We are creating jobs. And there are people who don't want our jobless youths to get jobs. But no one is giving us the data of how many people who didn't own homes that now own homes. Now, how many people are employed in the service sector that supports the housing industry who've gotten jobs? How many people are employed directly? So no one is giving us that data. And you'd expect the opposition to be at the forefront of, first of all, ensuring that whatever plans this government had, they are diligently executed. They are not doing that. And then number 2, you'd expect them to give us a policy framework and say, now, this is what this regime has instituted. This is how it is not working for Kenyans. And we are not telling you to do anything. We are just telling you to understand that it is not working for you, and this is the alternative that we have for you. This is how this alternative is going to work. Now, keep this in mind. This is how they're doing it wrong. This is how we promise to do it right as we go into 2027. For as long as they're not doing that, they're not keeping this government in check, and they're not offering that alternative that Dismas is talking about. 2027 doesn't look like they have anything to tell us, vote for us. And I can tell you, people keep lying to us that it is better to hide your candidate until the last minute. This crop of opposition leaders will not give us anyone in the last minute. If anything, they are going to disintegrate before they agree on a candidate. Now look at history. In 1992, in the run-up to the 1992 general election, that's the same thing you were promised when Ford was Forum for the Restoration of Democracy. They were moving together saying that because Moi will scuttle us, let us just work in this forum and then we'll unleash a candidate last minute.
Isn't that the same party that the Speaker of the National Assembly is still party leader for?
Yes,
okay,
yes. But I'll come there.
Just checking.
Then what happened? They tried all manner of things. They even met the then U.S. ambassador to Kenya, Smith Hemson, trying to come up with one candidate. They didn't. Moi beat them last minute. Now, 1997, the same thing. But in 2002, when it was done differently, a candidate was unveiled almost 3 years to the election. And they keep lying to us. These opposition leaders keep telling us, oh, even NAC, it was unleashed in November. No. Kibaki was a presidential candidate for NAK way before the election, more than 2 years. What happened is, when the Rainbow Coalition broke away from Kano, they had nowhere to go. Right now, even this regime, there are people who are in this broad-based coalition who will check out. But when they check out, they need to find an already solidified opposition.
So that's what they're waiting for.
They cannot wait. They cannot. Opposition is not waiting to have any candidate. They will not have that candidate. So even if guys leave President William Ruto, it will still be advantage President William Ruto. Because if they can't agree now and start a messaging that brings Kenyans together. Now, at what point are they going to agree? And if they agree last minute, now what kind of message are they going to give us? I mean, it will be a message of convenience that now we are conveniently congregating simply because we want to remove President William Ruto. We will not vote for that. We want people who will tell us exactly what they are going to do and how they are going to do it.
Dr. There's what Dismas has said in terms of Kenyans not being listened to, or rather an opposition that has nothing to show or alternative that they can give to the government to say that this is an alternative, a shadow government or whatnot. But we are also reminded of a time when the government was forced to listen because they didn't have an option. Finance Bill 2024. Because why? Kenyans came with an alternative. This thing you're bringing to us, we don't want it. And if you will not change it, we will get rid of it. And it happened. Yeah. So is it a question of the government of the day only works under pressure? That even when Ndindi Nyoro comes up with an alternative, it is not because they do not see it, it's not because they can't pick it, it's because the government has to be pushed for it to implement that which is pro-Monanchi.
Yeah, the government has to be pushed. The government has to be pushed. The interest of the government is to win. I mean, the interest of the political party that forms the government is to win the next election. Now, the interest of the political party that is in opposition is also to win the next election, but most importantly, to keep the government of the day in check. So if there is no one who is keeping this government in check, this government will do anything to ensure it wins the election. And I mean, the history in Africa tells us that the best way governments, plan to win elections is to amass resources to win the election. Now, the best way oppositions can help, the people is to ensure that the government does not steal resources. So, my problem with the opposition, and I mean, I've been a one-term guy turned two-term because there is absolutely nothing substantive in one term other than anger and hateful messages. They have failed terribly to help us understand what this government is doing that is either in our interest or not in our interest. They have failed terribly to remind this government that this government made promises which it has since run away from. Now, if an opposition cannot help us keep the government in check, if a leadership that promises to change the lives of Kenyans cannot even help Kenyans see the ills that are committed by this government, what guarantee is there that they are not just looking for an opportunity to do worse than this regime?
So are we saying that because of that, because you don't get direct messaging or communication from one side, that you'd rather stay with the devil than that you don't?
Politics is a marketplace of ideas. You must present very good ideas for people to take them to the bank. And as we are told, if you're in an opposition, you must do three things, Professor Owilla. Is that, number one, you must start biting the dog as a man, so that you make very good news. Yes. Or you start kicking like a donkey, or you run faster than the horse. What the opposition is doing today, in my view, is just standard. Because if every time you open your mouth, you're using the ethnic card to get people into your political party, people will start asking, is this ethnic card going to assist me pay my mortgage? Or assist me, meet the basics? If that doesn't happen, then you're going to be in a horrible place. So there must be something tangible, you said earlier on, that people can touch. And one of the biggest challenges is message consistency, or message discipline, or message harmony. Because any opposition leader who speaks, everybody has got his own messaging as to why they want to remove the president. But the president has got a very clear message that he wants to change the nation. And in my view, that is the reason why we need to have very strong political parties in Kenya. Because if you had very strong political parties, then they would be coming up with these policy proposals. If you go to South Africa, like ANC or Chama cha Mapinduzi or other more mature economies in Africa, it's actually the political parties. They have a parliamentary group meeting and come up with this idea and develop it and take it to the House as a parliamentary group idea, not as a solo fight. If you don't have that taking place, Where do we have multi-party politics in Kenya?
That's a good question. Yeah. You also mentioned that, the messaging, and I do agree. I mean, as somebody who communicates, I agree that the messaging is extremely important. But then the thing about communication is that beyond the messaging, there needs to be an action following the messaging. And you mentioned that President William Ruto's message is that he wants to make Kenya better, do something better for Kenyans. What would be the pursuant action to the message that has shown that truly is his desire? Owilla has mentioned that unfortunately there's been broken promise after broken promise, because if you promise that you're going to do something, you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, that's a broken promise. There's no other definition for that, right? So if you say that his desire is to make Kenya a better place over the last 4 years, what would you say are the things that have been done to buffer that desire?
Well, you can talk about 3 signature events, and because of confirmation biases, a number of Kenyans wouldn't agree, and I wouldn't be surprised.
You can just go ahead and say that.
Like for instance, the healthcare reforms. The people who are beneficiaries of the healthcare reforms. Well, it has done a number of challenges, but in fact, that people are happy with that. Some farmers are happy.
Should there be, for what you say, I'll ask, should there be some people who are happy with that, or should universal health coverage be covering everybody universally?
Well, the system was implemented, in my view, in a hurry without giving it trial.
So it's a very simple question.
So that you take care of the pain points. But on average, that system is working. If you talk about maize farmers, they're happy with the fertilizer subsidy. It could have been done better. Even the healthcare reforms would have been done better with more public participation and engaging in very strategic transfers or change.
Okay.
So that one seems not to have taken place. But the most important thing, in my view, is our message discipline. If you're going to tell people that we are going to change a certain team, give us the reason. Don't give us the reason as to why you want to change the team. Give us the logic behind it. Don't go to the top of Mount Kenya, literally, and say that you must give us the logic. And for that, we will never stop saying that we need these strong political parties, because these ideas now need to be processed from those political parties. And then number 2, these opposition leaders, in my view, they should study that Kenya Kwanza manifesto into detail.
I think the people who came up with the manifesto ought to study the manifesto and then actually implement the thing.
I'm talking about the opposition, so that they can point out, they say that out of 100 promises you made, you've only achieved a certain level. And then now the president will be given the challenge to tell us why he has not achieved 100%
I hazard a guess that the president is very aware that the manifesto that they put out has not been achieved. I don't think anybody needs to tell him that.
Yeah. I mean, Daktari, I want to look at, I want to come from the point of Mwananchi. And Mwananchi is looking at the political class as the individuals. Wanasema, we are suffering because of the political class. Why? Because we donated power, and decisions that they have made us poorer today, have made our situation worse than it was before. Now, President William Ruto, in him trying to get back to power, has what one would say a wildcard. Is it a wildcard, which is the ODM, because of broad-based government? Is it working for him? Because even ODM now is in 2 factions. One is in united opposition, another one is in government. So, are Kenyans right in saying we are suffering because of the political class in entirety? And is ODM the wildcard for either side?
Yeah, I think Kenyans are right, and the frustrations are real. If you look at what has happened in the recent past, anyone associated with this regime has faced the wrath of the public everywhere. There was a PS who was attacked, and I do not advocate for violence or political intolerance. It is something that we need to run away from. Even if you don't agree with a politician, either don't go there or listen and just move on. Because if we start this culture of intolerance, then we'll have no one to listen to.
Sure.
And that is even worse for us, because then we'll be making decisions in the dark. So if you look at what they have faced, the government spokesman was booed, to the ground at Kenyatta University. The Uasingishu member of parliament, woman member of parliament, was actually ejected from an event. The chair of the budget was almost lynched in Kisumu. And you see, these are frustrations by Kenyans who are looking at a regime that has not delivered even a quarter of what it promised after promising so much. So there's a sense in which the sentiments of on the ground, the frustrations on the ground. I mean, to be a sitting president with a rating of 24% is it 24 or 30? Yeah, I mean, it's a big joke. I mean, you have the state infrastructure, you have intelligence, you have almost everything. You can do that, which takes people to a comfortable space. And when people express dissent the way they are, it means that you're not doing much. Now, the second question you're asking, and for me, it's very simple. All these things Dismas says are very good. I mean, the reforms in health, the reforms in education, the institution of the housing levy, they're all very good. But what this regime ought to have done was very simple. Just reduce corruption by even up to 50%. It would be all good. If you look at the health reforms, the bedrock of the problem is not in the reforms. The bedrock of the problem is in the procurement of the system that is shrouded in a lot of corruption. Now, you look at the health, the oil, the fuel crisis that we have today. They did a good thing getting us into this G2G thing because there is fuel in our depots. But there is this looming corruption that is somewhere, that this deal was signed to make money for a certain clique of people. If they allay all these fears, and if these fears are real, then they just need to cut down on corruption by 50%. And between now and the next election, they'll have enough clout to win the election. But you ask a very interesting question on ODM. I think ODM probably is the biggest trouble for this regime because Baba left us in the broad-based government. But immediately he left, there is a group that decided we are going to leave the ground with the broad-based, but we are going with the people. So Linda Mwananchi has left with the people, but Linda Ground still has those ODM strongholds. And I can tell you, without any fear of contradiction, that majority of the luminaries in ODM who are supporting broad-based are actually going there for themselves. And the votes they are going to take to President William Ruto will not even account for 30% of the ODM votes. And the reason why I'm saying this is very simple. These are people who used to hang on Baba's coattail. And because we were going to vote for Baba at the top, we had no reason not to vote for them. So the tragedy for President William Ruto, from where I sit, is very simple. If they go with this ODM that has ground but no people, because Wananchi have already left with Sifuna, the first thing is not everyone who is in ODM is likely to vote for President William Ruto. So there's a reduction in that percentage. Then number two, if they go with this zoning thing, it basically means that the incentive to even go out and vote will be non-existent because there is no Baba up there to get you out of the house to go and vote. And then your candidate has already been zoned out. So you are left with this guy who used to hang on Baba's coattail that you don't like. But Baba is not there. You're not going to vote for this guy. You will not get out to go and vote. So the damage is on who? Is on President William Ruto. So this ODM is a wild card only if he understands the politics of numbers. And I'm sure the president understands. He understands the politics of numbers, and he understands that he has an ODM ground inhabited by people who are non-existent because those people have gone with Sifuna. So ultimately, unless it is a united ODM, I don't know how they'll do this, unless it's that complete ODM that has the Mwananchi and the ground together. ODM won't help President William Ruto.
It looks like, the jury's out in terms of what's going to happen. And that's very clear. In terms of who must do what, we can continue to analyze and put these messages out there. I think a good way to start the week. Gentlemen, thank you for being here with us this morning. Dr. Hesbon Owilla and the political risk analyst. Well, thank you very much for being here with us this morning. And as we continue in our conversations, obviously to then, I think that we can call out some of these things that they're unfortunately many things that are going on in the country that must be paid attention to, but the tribal card must not be one that is played in this game of poker.
Yeah, that is unacceptable.
That's unacceptable for sure. We can't run away from that because it's caused too much damage in the past, something that we hope will not cause anymore into the future. Gentlemen, thank you both for being here. Our conversations continue this morning, and this is the situation, and we'll continue with them. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the news. I'm Sheila Tambor. Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja has ordered major changes within President William Ruto's security team following a security breach in Bamba, Kilifi County. In a statement, Kanja announced the formation of a special investigation team to establish how the incident occurred, emphasizing that the president's security is a matter of national importance. The breach has raised concerns over security coordination and the management of public gatherings during presidential tours. The incident follows several other security lapses reported in recent months. The stability of the country's oil sector will depend on how soon ongoing conflicts in the Middle East are resolved. This is according to President William Ruto's special PA Farouk Kibet. Speaking in Tarbo, Wasingishu County, Farouk said the recent rise in fuel prices has been driven by the conflicts which have disrupted global oil supply chains. He added that the U.S. has shown interest in helping ending the wars, describing the move as a relief for countries experiencing fuel shortages.
Trump amesema atazidisha mambo ya vita. Hivyo ndivyo tunaelekeza maombi yetu ili tuweze kupunguza maneno ya kupigana, ndio mataifa ipate nafuu kwa watu wake. Kenya ni nchi ambaye inajitawala, kuna vitu ambaye tuko nayo na kuna vitu ambaye hatuna.
Farouk also took aim at opposition leaders, warning against what he termed as provocative politics.
Wale wote ambaye wanahubiri ukabila. Ukabila ni jambo mzuri kweli? Ni jambo ambalo kama mhubiri yetu angehubiri ukabila kwa Ukristo. Wewe ambaye lugha yako ni uchochezi, sisi leo tunakuambia shetani afanye namna gani? Sisi tunataka kiongozi wote akisimama mbele ya watu ni kuhakikisha ameleta Kenya pamoja.
The ODM Linda Group faction has defended the party's cooperation with President William Ruto, with ODM National Chairperson and Homa Bay Governor Gladys Wanga saying the party remains committed to its supporters. Speaking in Dandora, Wanga said ODM had only shifted its strategy to ensure development reaches its members while continuing to champion their interest.
Ile ambaye tumebadilisha ni tactics. Tumebadilisha style ya kupigania wananchi wa Kenya. Sasa hii tunajua tunasumbuka na ile mambo ya fuel hapa nchini na bei yake. Watu wanasema ODM, kwa nini mmenyamaza? Hatujanyamaza. Sisi ndio tumetuma expert pale wazingatie na wazungumzie na waangalie mambo ya fuel.
Zoning lazima ifanywe. Zoning, hatutaki ugomvi na UDA na hatutaki ugomvi na mazungumzo.
Power ya kuchagua viongozi iko kwa mkono ya wananchi. Nataka kuambia Rigathi Gachagua hiyo mambo yake ya ukabila abaki nayo huko Njeri. Sawa sawa.
Accompanied by several leaders, Wanga also rallied support for President Ruto, expressing confidence that he will secure a second term in office and stating that ODM will be part of the next government.
Mambo ya opposition, tunaambia opposition bye. Opposition bye. Opposition bye. Wale ambao wanatungoja tuungane sijui na nani, wakabila, watu wa chuki, tunawaambia
hakuna mtu anaweza tusaidia kupata power other than President William Ruto. Ndio maana nataka niambie watu wetu ya ODM kwamba ile route, ile sure bet, ile barabara tuko nayo kama wenye chama, watu wa chama cha ODM ni kukaa nyuma ya William Ruto.
Msipelekwe hivi hivi. Mjue kitu kimoja. Baba alituacha ndani ya ODM na ODM ilikuwa moja. Hakuna ODM mbili.
And education stakeholders and parents in Kilifi County have launched a campaign aimed at addressing indiscipline in schools through sporting activities and other games. Speaking in Malindi, the school deputy principal Patrick Maina said the initiative seeks to educate students on the dangers of drug abuse and other forms of misconduct.
It's a sport gara whereby students are doing different tournaments in basketball, football, volleyball, and netball. The main aim of this activity is to create awareness to the community, because as per now we have an increase in the issue of the crime rate here in Malindi. We also have increase in the drug abuse, and also drug addiction here in Malindi. The main purpose why we organize this activity is to create awareness of these issues and also to make our children busy so that they don't engage in this activity.
And that's the news. I'm Sheila Tembur.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we may find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea today. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
SRC's mandate is constitutional. It's not an advice. It's actually something you must do.
Must do.
Like now, you abandon, of course, the narrative of wheelbarrow, Mutu Mjengo, Mama Mboga, and all those, that rosy narrative.
Your expenditure is 3.3 trillion, and you're collecting only 2.5. Out of that 2.5, you're spending 1.8 trillion to service loans and so forth.
That the CDF kit, it's in itself a symptom of corruption.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.9 101.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
10 minutes after 8 o'clock, a very good morning to you. And no better time to remind you that today is the 25th of May. It is the final day for your submissions of your thoughts around the Finance Bill 2026. The final day. And Lady Diana is here. She'll be able to tell us where we're able to do that. If there's an email, do you go present yourself in an office? Do you write a letter and send it by post? Does the post still work? Anyway, that you can send it some way. Send it by carrier pigeon, I don't know. But today is the last day that you can actually do that. Before, Parliament also is resuming this week, and so goes back into those debates. And in a couple of days, they'll start to actually debate this. All right? Now, Kenya's budget burden is the conversation that we're having this hour. It's a 4.8 trillion shilling budget, the highest ever yet. Diana Gishengo is the Executive Director of the Institute for Social Accountability and is here with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Nduh. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Good morning. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Tom Ogada is also here. He's the economic justice expert from the Institute for Social Accountability. We are talking budget this morning. Big issues around all of this. And how is Kenya, how is the government going to fill this 4.8 trillion shilling budget hole, and is it absolutely necessary? Those are some of the conversations that we're having this hour. But before that, Dennis will tell you where he's gone this week. Love to get your interpretation of that proverb.
Today we are in a country's capital is Banjul.
Gambia.
That is Gambia. Yes. Beautiful country. When it comes to elections, they vote using pebbles, not the voters' paper, card, whatever. They use the traditional way of doing that, and that gets to elect their president. It is among the smallest countries in the continent by land mass and has a population of 2.8 million people, not a quarter of what Nairobi is, one would say. But let's go to the proverb. It is the woman whose child has been eaten by a witch who best knows the evils of witchcraft. It is the woman whose child has been eaten by a witch who best knows the evils of witchcraft. Ladies, go first. How would you interpret it?
We'll use the shoe. It's the wearer of the shoe who knows where it pains the most. If you have lived it, then nobody can mislead you. You know what it is all about. If you have lived the Kenya big budget announcement, you know what they bring.
You know what they mean.
Yeah.
Tom, how would you interpret it?
Until you experience it, you will not understand what it means.
Why? Well said, eh?
Indeed.
I know. I know.
Okay, let's experience this thing a little bit, shall we? 4.8 trillion shillings is what the budget looks like this year. The finance bill essentially is the fuel. Okay, I'm sorry to use that one because I know fuel is another issue. Yeah. But if the finance bill essentially is the fuel for this budget, right? It's the one that's going to tell you this is where we're going to get all the money from. That's what the finance bill essentially is. But if we look at the budget, and perhaps you can tell us because you've done some heavy research, you've looked into the numbers, and we'll start with you, Diana. But I mean, we're looking at 4.82 trillion shilling total expenditure in the next financial year, which starts on the 1st of August. 1.11 trillion is the budget deficit. Means that the government is going to borrow 1.1 trillion shilling to meet budget. Debt servicing is about 1.5 trillion, consuming over 30%. So of this 4.8 trillion shillings, 30% of it is going towards paying debt.
Yes.
Right? Education remains the biggest beneficiary, continuing investment in CBC, universities, teacher funding, things like that. Infrastructure and transport, major allocations continue for roads, logistics, and energy projects under the government's growth strategy. These are numbers or forecasts that were given to them by the different departments. So they said, okay, you need this money? Put it into the budget. Why not? Okay. Healthcare, more funding targeted toward universal healthcare and hospital systems, trying to put those things in place. Agriculture and MSMEs. The Treasury says the budget supports food production, value addition, and small business financing under the Better Agenda. So somewhere in the Better Agenda is still ongoing. Energy and fuel pressure. Rising global oil prices linked to Middle East tensions have forced government to temporarily reduce fuel VAT from 16 to 8%. But there's some major concerns that are being heard here. High debt burden. You should not be paying 30% of your total budget towards debt paying. Heavy borrowing. Still should not be borrowing 1.11 to mid-budget deficit. Cost of living still high. While you look at the macro, the micro is being ignored. Development spending concerns. Treasury acknowledged and development expenditure is slightly below the Public Finance Management Act target. Do these things kind of make sense, Diana? And even as Tom is going to look at some of the numbers for us, when we're looking at this, is there a problem? It looks like everything is covered here.
Because there's no problem. We are a rich country. We can afford 4.82 trillion. That's our budget. Our cabinet secretary will read the budget in parliament when all the other ministers for East Africa read. And proudly we will say we have the biggest budget this year. Now, do we need 4.82 trillion? That is one of the big questions. And if you look at 2023, the budget was 3.7 trillion. Yes. In 2 years, we've needed to grow our budget by 1.1 trillion. That's over 30% growth. That's the budget growth. What's the economic growth? Is it even double digit? No. Why is our budget growing by double digits while our growth and the benefits of social services, the relief of roads and things like that is not commensurate? You've rightly highlighted that one, our budget is a very good mix. 2.8 trillion, 2,800. Wacha tuende na hiyo hesabu. Our budget is 4,800. Do you understand a trillion?
No, let's use the
2,800. We use the 4,800. 2,800 goes to the executive. Okay? 1,500 goes to repay debt, interest, and to pay a bit of pension, 1,500. So you have 4,800. 2,800 has gone to the national government. You're left with 2,000. 1.5 goes to repay debt and 1,500.
So you have 500 remaining.
Yes. Then the rest of the budget, 400, goes to counties. How much do you have now?
100.
Then we give Parliament 50. Then we give the judiciary 30. That budget is over. So it may look very, very rosy, but essentially it just means that as we do that particular calculation, we've only calculated the interest, the debt interest repayment. The principal redemption is another 1,000. A trillion somewhere will need to be repaid in principal repayment. So when we say we have a 1,100 in deficit, it's not true. It's higher than that. How much do we, now that's the budget. That's our dream. But how much money are we saying we are going to raise? We are saying we are going to raise 3,600. 3.6 trillion.
If we manage to.
If we manage to, yes. And that particular revenue is a combination of what is coming from the taxes. We are also going to get appropriations in aid. Appropriations in aid is what you will pay when you're getting your title deed.
Okay.
We will now need to inspect cars every 4 years. NTSA. Cars that are older than 4 years. The amount you will pay, that's appropriation in aid. We are proposing to increase e-citizen fees
from 50 to
100, things like that. We will the cost of IDs, that's appropriation in aid. That cumulatively is what we hope to raise, 3,600 in revenue. Okay? Of that revenue, there are even grants inside. There are grants inside there. I'm just trying to get the exact breakdown. Some people will give us some little money. Some people will. Ordinary revenue for this year, we are expecting 2.9 trillion, 2,900. Then ministerial appropriation in aid, about 632. So in total, that's why we are saying 3,600. 3.6 trillion. 2023, our budget was 3.7 trillion. This year, we will raise 3.6 trillion and we will still have a deficit. Can we continue as a country budgeting with such a deficit?
Wait. In 2026, we are still unable to raise the budget for the country in 2023.
Yes.
Yet our budget has continued to increase every year.
Every year. And our revenue has grown every year as well. That somehow Kenyans pay more tax. Every year.
Yeah.
Every year, the finance bill raises our incomes in different ways to grow the revenue. The revenue is growing even as unemployment grows. So the few people who remain employed are carrying a heavier burden every day. When that happens, what's the reasonable thing to do? For our debt and our economy to become sustainable, we must pause. At that point, just think about it. You're in debt. The Shylock Ukona Sako, you have the bank, your neighbor's chama, and everybody else.
I'm sure.
Yes. When that happens, even if your house is leaking, can you first repair it?
Fix the thing first so that you stop the leak.
Exactly. But the priorities when you're in debt is immediately your lifestyle must change significantly, because you will even be offending the people who have lent you money. If you're in a village, you own a house, and you now have such a significant deficit, the first thing you do is you cannot build a new fence.
Okay.
You cannot build a new fence. You cannot say, I am planting new grass for children to play. No. All your revenue goes now to repaying debt. If your menu used to have minced meat and so on, that must change. You will now become a
vegetarian.
Yes. Vegetarian is even, most probably you're headed for malnutrition. For you to survive. But what is our posture as a country? All is well. You people who have incomes will pay more for social health insurance. We're even saying for education, anybody who can pay should pay. The few people who cannot, we will pay for you. For now, we are planning, we are posturing as the people who can upgrade an airport, who can build the next biggest stadium in this country. Are those our priorities? As we do all that, do you know our malnutrition rate has gone up?
True.
We are at 36% of Kenyans are experiencing malnutrition. What should be your priority? Is our pride, our patriotism, our prestige as a country? Is it to be seen to have stadiums, to have good roads, or to make sure every single Kenyan is alive? And that can only be secured through food, health, education. So during this period of austerity, that is where our limited resources should be invested. It is a period where we must go down on infrastructure. But as Tom will tell you, part of this budget, all the budget for this year, you can be sure, Ministry of Education, will experience low budget implementation and we will go crazy. Why hasn't the Ministry of Education absorbed their money? And the reason will be because there is not much procurement to benefit a few. That money will be delayed. Whereas the disbursement for infrastructure heavy ministries like transport, like energy, those will have 100%, if not more than, budget implementation. Our priorities are lopsided.
I mean, Tom, Kenyans are asking a simple question. Which are some of the pinpoints, the concerns with the budget they should be looking out for? What has been added? Because like you've just pointed out, right? And unemployment continues to go down. The very few continues to go up. The very few who are still in the employment bracket continues to pay more. Which are these areas that the government is getting into, taking more to fund this budget?
Thank you.
That smile says a lot.
Thank you so much. Allow me to, because the government is trying to fund a lot of things at the same time. Actually, if you look at the budget, what the government is trying to do is the government is trying to increase budgets for almost every sector. Okay? But if you look at it keenly, you will realize that where that money is supposed to go to, or where Kenyans expect money to go to, it is not headed that direction. Because, for instance, I was just trying to look at how allocations have been done in the executive offices or the top offices. You look at the likes of the State House, the Executive Office of the President, Office of the Deputy President, and the Prime CS. Then you will see significant movements towards the direction. And to some extent, I want to believe it is to justify what we've seen in the implementation of the 2025-2026 budget, which went extremely high. For instance, when we saw State House budget increasing from 8 billion to 17 billion, close to 18 billion. But if you look at what has been done in this current budget, you will see, they will tell you that now we listened to what Kenyans were saying and we've tried reducing that in the budget estimates that we proposed. But still, it is 5 billion more than what was passed in for 2025-2026. Currently, State House is planning 13 billion. Okay? And you see that movement, you go to the office of the DP, you will see the same things. And that tells you a lot of things. Then I know someone here will say, but education has got, is the highest, is funded by the highest margin, 781 billion. How can you say we are not prioritizing where Kenyans' interests are? Then you look at the education budget, you realize TSC has been allocated 422 billion of that budget. That is more than 50%. Then if you look at what that amount is, the 422, it is supposed to go to salaries.
And
all of it.
Recurrent expenditure.
Okay. Actually, it is 420 something going to recurrent expenditure. Then leaving around 700 million for development.
Across education?
That is, yes, TSC. That is TSC alone, because it is what is taking the bigger chunk of that money.
Yeah.
Then you ask, who is this 422 billion going to pay? Because if you look at that budget, we were told in the budget policy statement that the government is prioritizing recruiting 30,000 teachers. Then you look at what is in the budget, you're being told that only 20,000 intern teachers are going to be absorbed into permanent and pensionable. then 6,000 more are going to be promoted teachers. Then you ask yourselves, we ask ourselves, the 30,000 who we were promised to be absorbed or to be recruited, where are they? Okay? So those are some of the gaps. You cannot see them if you don't go deeply into what is there. Because if you look at the current student to teacher ratio, it is alarming. And if you look at what is being proposed according to the gaps that were being given by the TSC themselves and the ministry, they were saying we need like 100,000 more teachers. We should recruit 100,000 more teachers. Then in the budget policy statement, they said we will recruit 30,000. But now they're recruiting 20,000.
Okay. Just to go back a little bit, just for clarification purposes. So the budget process starts on around the 30th of August, and then it takes us through until April, when now you're told, okay, well, the finance bill is out.
Yes.
So all of these things that we are talking about, education, agriculture, whatever, that is how much the government wants to spend in the next financial year. Mm-hmm. Now, what the finance bill does is that it stipulates then where they are going to get the money for this budget, isn't it?
The additional money.
Yes, extra money they're looking for.
Yes.
So that's why when they come and tell you that there will be an increased tax on you sending money. Mm-hmm. So they're going to gather up all the money that they get from that, and they're going to put it into this big basket. And then some of that will go to education, some of that will go to agriculture, some of that will go to whatever. So the finance bill basically is demarcating where there's going to be an extra tax here and there, so that we know this is what KRA then is able to collect.
Yeah.
That's how we get to the 3.6 trillion. The 1.1 trillion is now that money that KRA will not be able to get. They cannot tax you anymore because there's nothing left. But they'll say now that is the money that we're now going to go and borrow. So that's why we say the finance bill is the fuel of the budget, because that is where you will get the money from to then activate this thing. That's why it's important for you to understand why they say public participation on the finance bill, because you can go and say, excuse me, there's nothing left for you to come and tax. Where are you going to get it from, essentially? Now, help me understand. If in the previous budget, as absorption was low, what we are talking about? And number two, if absorption is low on a previous budget, why would you increase it? Why would you increase your budget numbers on the next one if you are not able to absorb properly on the last one?
Let's clarify. The absorption is not low. It is low because of delayed disbursements.
And that money is available?
No.
Why is the money delayed?
The money delays because first you must pay debt.
All right.
Okay.
So the minute you pay debt, there is very little. But secondly, because you must first pay ministries that procure. And procurement is very good. You know, procurement is very good because people plan for it. People in power plan for procurement. They plan to procure 106 billion SHA system. A system, a digital one.
Yeah.
Then they tell us we have a deficit. Therefore, we sell Kenya Pipeline Corporation for 103, 106. There. A whole infrastructure with land and so on, you can't compare. So that's the second reason, that disbursements first go to ministries that have a lot of procurement. Ministries that are around social services, education, principals every day are scratching their head. They don't know, how will I feed these children? Where will I get textbook, exercise books? They will get the capitation for this year. First, right now they've gotten the
first term is complete.
Yes.
Yeah.
Second term,
yeah, they are not sure. Most of the money comes that term there. So
if it is complete,
yes.
Okay.
So when we do the analysis of budget implementation and absorption, it will look like education is low, but it is the disbursement.
Okay.
Counties also face a similar challenge. because they will be allocated the 420 billion, but the money will delay before it hits their account. Sometimes they will flex, the Council of Governors will speak, and the money will come sooner. Again, in the counties, once the money hits their account, what does it do first? It pays salaries. Before it can then go to resource, medical facilities, resource, agricultural extension services. Things that Mwananchi needs are always the last priority. So
and it should be the
other way round. You know, we keep saying we the people, we the people. Where are we? Where is we the people in this budget?
Okay, I'm sorry. I have to. You know, we don't know, so
Yes.
we want to understand.
Yes,
because then it helps us to then be more active. If we are saying is there a rule that you have to stick to the budget in Kenya?
Yes,
it's a law.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you've also said that education 704 billion shillings, right? It was a little less. Tom. 781 billion shillings for 2026.
Yes.
What was it in 2025?
In 2025-2026, it was 701.
That is that's where my head was. 701 billion shillings. We know for a fact that by the time third term rolled around for 2025, that there was a deficit of 4,031 shillings per child.
Per child, yes.
Per child. So if you have to stick to the budget, can you see where I'm going?
Yeah.
And you didn't give them this money, and you have the finance bill which became an act, and you have the appropriations bill where they now go and sit down and say, okay, so now let's share the cow, right? If the money didn't get to where you have said, and you've said that we have to follow the budget, where does that money go?
Where does?
I'll allude to what Diana said. You know, just using the education example, I think it was this month when the Ministry of Education gave us a circular that they were releasing money for textbooks, 95 shillings per child. We remember?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, 95 shillings. Then we are saying there are some deficit, but we ideally, when we look at the budget, there was an allocation. Okay? Then we ask ourselves, where is the money going? When we look at our constitution, the first thing that we should fund using our budget is our national interests, where education, health, and the key service areas should be a priority. Okay? But then after that, the number two thing is the public debt. Okay? But ideally, what is happening in our country or with our government is the first thing that we do before we finance our national interest is the public debt. So if you ask where that money is going into debt payment. Okay? So after the debt has been prioritized, it has been number one, it has been made number one, the biggest priority. Then now the government will stand and start looking, where can we get the extra money now, or money to take to education, to take to health, and to take to counties. And that is where the problem begins.
So that means
yes,
the critical areas that the government should be focusing on, that is Mwananchi centered, which is critical to the country, is the second option after we've paid the debt.
Yes.
But I want to look at Diana. If you look at the way budget policy statement is created and all that, is because we are, correct me if I'm wrong, as I build up to it, we have this money and it will be used to, say, fund education. This is the money. We will use X amount to build the roads, the schools. We'll use these to build the stadia and everything else. It is well stipulated on what that money would do. So therefore, when we find that later in the year, after the budget policy has been passed, that someone stood somewhere and said, you know what, Nitawatengenezea swimming pool here, yet it was not in the budget. At that particular point, are we going against the budget that we passed? And how does that then hurt Mwananchi or stop Mwananchi from benefiting from these taxes they've paid, say, in funding education, healthcare, critical things that should benefit Mwananchi?
One, when the budget process starts in August, all sectors go and give their input.
Yes.
Now, very few people say remove this because everybody roots for their area. We need roads. The education sector says we need, and we have a certain attitude of add. Then, in my opinion, I also think how we make our budget is problematic because after the sector hearings with different ministry, Treasury comes together. They attempt to strike off, this is too ambitious and so on. But nobody goes into the historical books. So if I put in a line that I need, let's call ourselves Office of the Citizen.
Yes.
Office of the Citizen needs makeup. And we put that line in 2012, it will never be removed. And it will keep being increased for inflation. But when we look at it, we no longer need makeup. What is the occasion for the Office of the Citizen? Maybe the Office of the Citizen needs shoes. That level of discussion and analysis of the budget does not happen, despite the process, the fact that we have a very elaborate process. Thereafter, Parliament is given the budget. When the budget is given to them, it goes to the various departmental committees. So like the education one always increases and has a way of rallying Kenyans. Watoto wetu. So the budget goes up. The health one increases and so on. We leave it at that, genuinely. And there's a level of, there's a need that informs the increase. But deep down, the technocrats know what we must pay is this debt, and then immediately, whatever the president prioritizes will take precedent. Somehow. Now, we made a mistake of saying that the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury can authorize a variation, a 10% variation in the budget. This is a 10%, 4.8 trillion.
Yep. Yeah.
480 billion.
480 billion, yeah.
They can vary that. Other than education and debt, there is nothing else, no other expenditure in this budget that is 480 billion. The variation that the Cabinet Secretary can make. But is it the Cabinet Secretary who varies? No. It is State House that varies the budget. So they do first supplementary, they vary. At 10%. They do the second one, they vary. That is why the president can make all these pronouncements on the go and we deviate. Then thereafter...
Okay, sorry.
Today.
See now, finally. Because we often ask the question, if I'm sorry to interrupt, please hold on to that thought so that we can now connect and move forward. But then we often wonder if the nation has a budget-making arm, which is Parliament, then goes on to make the law, and we don't hear these things because, I mean, the painstaking job of reading and looking through the numbers, like the way TISA does and other stakeholders, it's a lot of work to look through the fine lines. But I don't know that you would then be able to find a fence that would cost, I don't know, however many billion. That would be up by July in that, because that's what when you do a budget, you have to do the lines, the nitty-gritty of how much you're going to spend and what you're going to spend on it. So we're often left to wonder when somebody says we will build a road that's going to cost whatever and this how much it's going to cost and we're going to do it, but we didn't hear it mentioned. So now
makes sense.
The variance, if what I'm getting you say, the variance is what leaves some extra money in the kitty for then me to come and say, well, you have had a problem with classrooms, have 20 million, like that, and we can go ahead doing things like that. So it is money that has been budgeted for, but it is not, doesn't have a line Is that what we are saying?
No, it has a line, but we left a leeway for a 10% variation. I've given you the cumulative.
Okay.
If you varied the education budget, you have 70 billion to throw around, to toss around.
Yes.
And that it is abused because that variation is only allowed for unexpected, unforeseen,
like COVID. Okay.
A major disaster.
Flooding.
All right. That is the only time we are allowed that type of variation. We didn't anticipate as a country we will go to war. We've gone to war. But for us,
That's
always...
That's an example.
It's an example,
Okay,
sorry.
thanks.
It's a very... It's completely unforeseen. But our unforeseen is usually we needed empowerment of youth every weekend in church. We vary a budget.
We need to construct a new church.
Yes, we need a new church. We need to announce to launch a new road. We vary the budget. And all that is expected is the cabinet secretary comes and explains themselves to parliament. Oh, we varied a budget by this much. Please approve. And that is what results in supplementary appropriation.
Diana, even as we talk about the supplementaries, do we go detail by detail on what these variations would be going to do, or is it open source?
Tom analyzes supplementary budget every time and annoys us. Makes us get potential.
So it is what happens is very simple, because simple on paper, but it is really technical.
Okay.
Because what you will get to see is, or even in the parliament, what they will get to see, they will be given lines that are already spent. When we said, for instance, that State House budget increased from 13 billion, no, from 8 billion to 17.9 billion. Okay?
Double.
That is
100%.
Yes, 100% increase. So, what Parliament is going to have is a figure that has already been spent by State House. Okay? Then now you need to ask yourself,
Sorry.
Yes.
You said it.
I know.
You said it has already been spent. It has been spent, then come and say approve.
Yes,
I know
approve.
there's an allowance for something like that, whereby they can come and say, okay, well, we spent this money without parliamentary approval, but we can then come back and say, okay, well, here's the explanation. There's some leeway for that.
Yes.
Is this what you're talking about?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes. So they come and say, this is how it has gone. Now you ask yourself. They will not provide that explanation. You will have to go and dig it yourself from the budget books. How was this used?
And Parliament should be asking this question.
They should be asking. Okay. That is their mandate.
All right.
So then when you go to the books, you want to see how was this money reallocated? How was it used? Then you realized one of the things that really consumed money was domestic travels. And when you try to see, it was the maybe president going there, here and there, going to maybe launch a road, maybe going to launch a Nyota program somewhere, or the DP going to some Harambe somewhere.
8 million a day.
Yes, yes, that one for Chopper. And you look at those lines, and you see those are actually where the money went to. There was nothing constructive.
So,
yes,
is it possible?
Yes.
That these variances that we are talking about, whereby there was a chopper ride here, there was, whatever it is the case, that if you put all this money together over time, is it possible that the amount of external, or whether it's external or domestic debt that you then take on would reduce?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt. Add this. Under Uhuru, we used to lose 2 billion a day. Our deficit during that period was that 2 billion that we lose. Okay? Under Kenya Kwanza, we were losing 3 billion a day. Times 365,
My calculator
times 364 is a trillion.
Yes.
And that's the
deficit.
Yes, that's the deficit.
So most of the money is stolen or misappropriated. We don't need the deficit we have is a budget padded so that they can take away, they can steal from it.
It's the things like in our Jiro Gikonyo used to call budgeted corruption.
Properly.
Right.
It's the budgeted corruption that is now properly legislated. It will be procured out into contracts. And remember, this is the pain of this debt. The 3 billion we will lose to corruption. But the 900 billion that we are repaying in debt, we are paying local banks. Who owns these local banks? Who are the majority shareholders? How comes nearly every person who becomes a president owns a bank? And treasury bills and bonds have been what percent? 15. This is the first time they are 8-9%. You know, even the China debt we complain about is 2%. That is what we repay.
Yeah.
But we repay our political elite. The money they lend us. 15%. And it has to be a priority. So when we are saying debt is a priority and people can starve to death, we are saying we must pay. Most of the people who are not entrepreneurs who can give us a talk on how to make money, become rich and inspire people. It is people who have taken our money through sweat and blood.
Wait. Diana. You know, when we were younger, we had to learn via rote.
Yes.
Repeat. So I'm sorry. So domestic debt takes up the majority percent of what Kenya owes. True? False?
Currently.
At the moment,
yes.
Domestic debt.
Yes.
And it's a nice word, but domestic debt, essentially what you're saying is that you're borrowing from local financial institutions.
Yes.
Now, there's a demand 8% vis-a-vis 2% to China. So the amount it's a more expensive loan.
Yes.
A domestic debt is more expensive than external debt. But there is an appetite for domestic debt. Why is that? But remember that the 1.1 trillion is what Kenya owes, not will owe, owes. That's
it's due.
It's due.
Okay. Overall, we owe 12.8.
Overall, 12.8 trillion.
Yes. Yeah.
Then, but what we are saying now in this budget, are we? I don't know if it's me who's not. That's why we are. That's why you're here. On this 4.82 trillion, already 1.1 trillion is going. Is money that you're going to borrow.
Yes.
And what we are saying, he'll read it come July 1st or whatever, June 30th, that we will get from the domestic, those nice words, we will borrow from the domestic market, etc., percentage, whatever. But we already know that the larger payment comes in interest. And there is a difference of about 6% in terms of the interest that you will pay. So are we saying it makes sense to borrow externally, if must, than it does to borrow internally?
We must start borrowing externally. We don't like borrowing. Currently, we are not borrowing as much externally. One, because sadly, the IMF we dislike, we behaved so badly. We are not looking good on the international front. So we can no longer go to the international market. Why? Because our IMF program that is supposed to ensure we reduce expenditure, we are disciplined, all targets nearly collapsed, the main ones. I think the one for marshalling dollars, the reserves in the central bank, that one was successful. But secondly, they come with conditions. Most of the external debt comes with certain conditions, and some of them are governance related. Right now, we don't want that discipline of governance related conditions. But secondly, we don't control the external market, but we do control the domestic market for banks, for insurance, for pension firms, and so on. This year, as we plan to borrow 1.2, we'll take 900 billion. In an economy that requires that money to be pumped into businesses, into local industries. My bank agent no longer calls me who has a pay slip. I am such a liability. They don't know whether I'll have a contract next year. All they do is every day you're waiting for the next treasury bill, the next treasury bond. And based on that, imagine, look at 8 top CEOs of banks. They got how much in bonuses? Yes. 800 million, 817 million, thereabout. 8.
Yeah. 8. Not the bank, the individuals.
The individuals.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
How much did our banks make? Yet even the Kenya Bankers Association is like, their morality is kicking in. They are telling government, please, we can't lend you. Allow us to lend to the people.
MSMEs, the ones, the builders of the economy.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you don't build that economy, there will be nobody to pay tax.
Tom,
Yeah.
Tom, I want to look at the debt question as we talk. There is external debt.
Yes.
There is internal debt that is to the financial institutions. But in our books, do we have pending bills as debt that is recognized by the books? Do we have debt that is owed to schools, debt that is owed to health institutions as debt? And in the question of variations, do we have these variations across ministries and other agencies as well, or is it just restricted to the executive?
That is the issue of pending bills. Shock on you or shock on us. Pending bills, when we are calculating our debt, it has not been included.
Should it?
It should be,
because it's debt.
Yes.
Okay.
It should be, but as at now, pending bills are not included in the debt. The numbers you are seeing, the 12.8 trillion that we were talking about here as our total domestic public debt, it is not there. When you look at the interest payment that has been mooted here of 1.1 that we are going to pay, it is not part of that. And you know, according to the pending bills verification committee that was constituted by the president himself, as I think they've, in their verification up to now, they are saying there is around 800 billion in pending bills that we have, and it has been distributed both at the national and at the county level. Okay. Mm-hmm. And at the national level, we have the MDS ministries, department and state agencies, where these are, these pending bills. So this is a very big issue, and I want to link it to the conversation on the domestic debt, because it is really crippling how money is circulating in our economy. Because someone or a supplier who went to supply government, what did they do? They went and borrowed from a bank to provide services to government. Then the government has stayed with that money for more than 1 year without paying them. Some of them, they've been auctioned by the banks they borrowed from. These are people who are now getting out of business. And we are definitely, in one way or the other, we are losing taxpayers. We are losing employment. These people there are people who are being employed, okay? The people who are being employed. And this is seriously affecting the economy, both at the national level and at the county level. So you see how it is crippling both sides, both the devolution and at the national level. And that is what I can say about the pending bills and how it keeps on.
And the variations? Are we seeing, do ministries and agencies as well spend in these variations as well? Or is it just on executive?
The supplementary appropriation will cut across. They will pick from each of the ministries. So there are variations everywhere. It's a kitty for everybody. Like a strong ping pong, pick from here, pick from here. So by the time you aggregate to get the picture of what is happening, that is when the shock hits you. And we have, is it 500 billion of pending bills? Thereabout.
Yes.
That is not included in the domestic debt. So we are at 12.8. Add half a trillion, we are at 13.3. Then there is a contingent liability, guaranteed debt.
Yeah. Yes.
Kenya Airways, you need a loan, we guarantee you. KPLC, you need a loan, we guarantee you. We government, rich people. So we've guaranteed very many. Right now they are called government-owned.
State-owned enterprises.
State-owned enterprises.
Yes.
But they are also now moving to GOES, the new act that was passed that is going to lead the privatization process. The National Infrastructure Fund.
Wait. Okay, you know why I'm saying you hold? Because I am going to beg you, please, just give us some minutes after we go to the news. We were supposed to do this till 9 o'clock. Okay. But it is too important what you've said, especially vis-a-vis the budget, to leave this out. Please give us 10 minutes after the break. Let's go to the news. We'll come back. Take a Panadol if your head hurts, because you might need it. Good morning.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the news. I'm Sheila Tembor. Transport services have been disrupted along sections of Thika Highway following protest over the rising cost of fuel in the country. Demonstrators blocked the road and lit bonfires, preventing vehicles from passing as they demanded a reduction in fuel prices and the overall cost of living. The incident has led to heavy traffic congestion, leaving many commuters stranded for hours. The protest come days after transport unions called off their strike following a meeting with President William Ruto at State House last week. The National Assembly has dismissed social media claims that the Finance Bill 2026 proposes taxes or annual charges on freehold land. In an official public communication notice, Parliament termed the reports false and misleading, clarifying that the bill is a tax administration and revenue mobilization framework that does not address land issues. It noted that the bill contains 57 clauses, none related to land tenure or property rent. Parliament also denied claims that any law converting freehold to leasehold land has been passed or is under consideration, urging the public to disregard misinformation. Kenyans have been advised to rely on official parliamentary sources for accurate information. The Finance Bill 2026 is currently under public scrutiny, with debate ongoing over its potential impact on the cost of living. To Matters Health, where Kenya has screened more than 48,000 people for Ebola as it steps up surveillance and preparedness measures in high-risk counties. The national government, in partnership with county governments, is also identifying holding, isolation and treatment centers in readiness for any possible outbreak. Health CS Aden Duale has urged Kenyans to remain calm but vigilant, noting that no Ebola case has been reported in the country so far.
We have put in place a very strong disease preparedness and surveillance system across all 22 counties, which 9 of them are counties within the very high risk areas that we shall be using for holding and isolation centers in order to facilitate treatment and care in case we reach that stage.
Duale said the country has adequate testing facilities, including a mobile emergency laboratory to support rapid detection nationwide. He also called on travelers who have recently returned from Uganda and the DRC to go for testing.
We have put 9 labs, testing labs in the country, and we have 1 mobile lab that is deployed in case we have a situation where we need to reach.
And former Chief Justice David Maraga has pledged to uphold and protect the Constitution if elected president in next year's general election. Speaking in Lodwar, Turkana County, Maraga emphasized the need for leaders to serve as good role models for Kenyans.
Wale wako mamlakani hawaheshimu katiba yetu. Hata wakati court imetoa order, wanaangalia tu hiyo kama karatasi. Na wale ambao wameenda kotini ni watu ambao wameumia. Saa ingine serikali imepelekwa kotini sababu iko mtu amepigwa risasi, watu wengine wameumishwa na wamevunjika miguu. Koti ikitoa order ya kwamba walipwe, wale wako mamlakani wanatarau tu.
He also calls out senior government officials of violating the Constitution despite having sworn to uphold it.
nitahakikisha katiba imetekelezwa. Takuwa wa kwanza kutii sheria ya nchi yetu. Munaona wakati rais anakula kiapo, si anasema atatekeleza na atalinda katiba. Leo hivi vile tunazungumza, iko makesi kotini ya kuonyesha ya kwamba katiba miaka na miaka haijatekelezwa. Nitahakikisha hiyo imetekelezwa.
And that's the news. I'm Sheila Tembor.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, it's 5 minutes after 9 o'clock, and Diana was about to just gloss over the NIF before we went. Because we're having a conversation today, of course, if you're just joining us, budget, finance bill. Diana and Tom are here from the Institute of Social Accountability. But we're having this conversation for us to understand what really goes into the budget, where sometimes people are up in arms and we're making noise and we say, we can't see. Okay. KRA is tasked with getting a lot of this money. That's where the finance bill comes in, and then they can collect. This thing that people are making noise about, what the finance bill says, that KRA can look into your M-Pesa, it's not because they're the boogeyman in the dark. It's because they're looking for other avenues where they can get a little bit of money, because 3.8 trillion shillings is a mighty sum of pressure for these guys to actually collect in 12 months. You know? So that's where they're looking for this money to then be able to get it. But the National Infrastructure Fund that you mentioned in relation to this budget is something that we knew that, came up maybe October last year, November, the conversations happened. They went into full speed. When we talked about the divestiture of KPC and Safaricom, the courts have held on Safaricom for now. KPC, gone. But to where?
It is, and remember, it's a price of SHA system.
104 billion shillings. That's how much you got.
Yeah.
But where is it? But there's a fund that's supposed to be now building Mal Summit, Rironi, all these nice things.
Yes. So there is a fund that is supposed to build. This is project financing.
Yes.
The National Infrastructure Fund will only be used on projects that can repay. So if it's a road that is being used using the National Infrastructure Fund, it must have toll.
Okay.
To repay. It is like an expressway. When they build a sewer line, your rate for sewage and water must go up. So that is what the National Infrastructure Fund is going to do. Within that, the government will guarantee any loans that they take. If they are not paid, that debt becomes ours. But because we really need money to go there, I feel like it's wash. In the finance bill, in the finance bill, people who are going to invest in the National Infrastructure Fund, those ones are not paying tax. That money is not being taxed. It's there. If you're coming to invest, money that is being invested, those ones, we are forgiving them. Then they come, they invest, then they charge us, and then we continue. Okay, so I needed to clarify that our debt includes the amount of money we'll guarantee the National Infrastructure Fund. If they enact the National Sovereign Wealth Fund as well, that fund will be guaranteed by us. And do you know how many funds we have as a country? Where we just set aside money, we are rich. 75 funds. Why do we need 75 funds that we can barely track? Now, the debt is 12.8. We had gotten to 13.3. We've not added the guaranteed debt of KQ and many others. Securitization is debt. The money we've borrowed using the tourism levy. The money we are using the road levy. That is why we cannot even go out of our way to stabilize fuel, because title deed imeshikwa, but it's not in the official debt register.
And how do you know this, Diana? Because, there'll be those who say, okay, well, Diana and Tisa and Tom have looked at the numbers, and the only thing that it sounds like it's a grand heist. Is this in the numbers?
Yes.
So you can make this assertion based on the numbers that you see, which are
the 12
which are public.
Yeah, the public 12.8 securitization is not part of it.
Yeah.
And the securitization data, all of it has not been put forward. We know of a few areas where it has been used. We believe there are most of the levies have gone to securitization. We are still investigating what is the coffee levy doing? What is the sugar levy doing? All those levies, and what that means is whether we elect President Ruto 2027 or not, the person who comes has no money to utilize because we mortgaged a levy. And a levy is set aside for special development purposes to grow our tourism. Sugar levy to support the sugarcane sector.
Maintain our roads.
Yes, but we have deviated from that. We've been warned because based on where our debt is, we need to restructure. That debt is not sustainable. People cannot die so that we pay debt. No. Historically, when that happens, you have to restructure. But Kenya debt will be very difficult to restructure.
Why?
Because we have bonds, we have bilateral debt, then there are people who are at a special level of a category because then they have title deed, the securitization. So our process will be longer and more painful. When that happens, the pain in Kenyan homes will be tougher. Yet we are here with so much braggadocio, acting like we are the ones who know how to play the debt book. We've really been misused badly. Our debt is so high. And please add, we are now at 12.8. We have a deficit of 1.1. Tom tells me that always, you know what, when we are budgeting, where we are always in a deficit, even by the time we say we will raise 3.6, we will not. We will raise 3.4. But we must show we will raise a lot so that people allow us to mouth the budget of 4.8 trillion. So our deficit will be higher. Next year, when you call us here, we will tell you the official debt book is 14 trillion. Why? And you people are telling us, analyze. If you have 1 million, you spend 10,000 a day. You finish it in 3 months. If you have 1 billion, you spend 10,000 every day. You use it for 274 years. Huh? That is what a billion is. $1 trillion. Even Jesus has not lived for how long you can use $1 trillion if you're using 10,000 a day.
I mean, and you see, Diana, as we speak, then we look at extra debt that has not been included into that registry, and we are speaking about 15 or so. So that means moving forward, then, Tom, if to restructure our debt is very difficult, that would mean the government in one way or the other will have to tax Kenyans even more. So Kenyans should get ready for higher taxes, because where we find ourselves, our title deeds have gone, we're being mortgaged. But that notwithstanding, I still go back to these variations that we see. From where I sit, is these are just political tools for individuals to do their politics, if you ask me. It is not meant to benefit Monanchi in any way.
I'll agree with that statement. Why? Because if you are borrowing, in our constitution, you should borrow to develop, to do development. That is the only provision that has been given for borrowing in the constitution. Let me give you an example. Our deficit right now, is 1.1.
On this year's, but on this one that's coming up for reading,
And the deficit is 1.1, and our development expenditure, total development expenditure, is 749 billion.
Sorry, just becoming slowly, I beg.
Yes.
This year.
This year.
Okay, so there's a deficit of 1.1 trillion.
Then
the amount that has been allocated for development, and when we say development, we're talking about infrastructure, building of roads, etc.
Some of it can even go to education.
Yes.
All right, 749 billion.
749,
okay.
Thereabouts.
Sorry.
Yeah. Then we want to borrow 1.1 trillion. So, from the word go, there is around 400 billion that we are going to borrow but it is not going to
development.
It is not going to development. Take, for instance, also, how much are we going to borrow domestically? It is 995 billion. That is still more than what we are going to use for development.
Yeah.
So it means there is a component of borrowing we are going to go into that is not supporting development. It is going to support recurrent expenditure. It will be going to other people's pockets.
But isn't there a clause that allows you to borrow for short term, and I think the term is 90 days, 3 months, that allows you to meet a budget shortfall?
Yes.
And in that case, that's what this is, isn't it?
Shortfall of 500 billion, and then remember the supplementary budget and what we do with it. But you know, I can see the extra appropriation has gotten to you. This is what it means. The president has gone to a number of schools. Has he gone to girls' schools, by the way?
Yes. There was
one.
There was an unfortunate incident where a young girl actually had a small accident. That was a couple of months, but he has gone to girls' schools.
Yes, but I have followed more the boys' school, and the boys' schools are Alliance, Kapsabet, Njeri's. Njeri's is in my village. We were very happy. No, we were not, but not for me, I am not. Those are very big schools. He went to Alliance and promised $500 million. It can be gotten from the education kitty. Okay? But the budgeting process is to ensure equitable distribution of the 700 billion. And after the teachers, it's about 200 billion. So you've already taken $500 million and given it to Alliance, one of the most prestigious schools with the strongest alumni, with the best infrastructure in this country. That is where you're going to hand presidential goodies. You move from there, Kapsabet, another very well-equipped school. Njeri's, a very well-equipped school. Then based on that, we will do a supplementary budget to vary the lines in the Ministry of Education. Then thereafter, Spice KTN, you will come and report to us in a very depressing way that a school in Tana River, children were devoured by crocodiles. Why? Because their classrooms are very near the river. But those have not been allocated. Supplementary budgets are immoral. They need to be stopped by all means. And every year the Auditor General flags them.
But
there's a lot of push and pull between controller of budget whenever that office is approving supplementary appropriation, because it's never ever justified.
Who is approving? This is the question here, because how do you say that something must be stopped? Who is approving? There's an entire battalion of folks who sit at the Treasury, Tom, who are the ones who are crunching the numbers from August. But somebody says, okay, fine, go ahead and spend. Is it that they're not looking at the fine lines, the nitty-gritty? Because all of this is there. It is there. It's not hidden. Or maybe they say some of the best ways to hide something is just put it there. Put it in plain sight.
It's the executive wallet.
Who is saying go ahead to do this?
So it's a directive. It's an executive wallet. That Treasury is the lapdog that effects it. And then Parliament, that ought to stop it forever, strengthen the controller of budget not to authorize it ever, decides, actually, the president needs this. They need this. Okay. That's where we keep losing it. Expenditure. We were supposed to start zero-based budgeting this year.
What does that mean for those of us who are at the back of the class?
Zero-based budgeting means we have budget books that are pre-filled. We only tweak a few things. It's very difficult to add a new budget line. And historically, there are lines, like I said, there are lines that we should just do away with. Tom, you said we pay pension for people, UK people who worked here during the colonial period. We pay pension. Okay? So some of these lines, we need a new book. To start.
You guys have taken us to UK now.
For Kenyans in the UK.
Yes, so when you hear our expenditure,
Tom
our
said
debt
no.
Not Kenyans.
For the colonialists.
No, colonialists.
Who worked here.
Those who worked here.
It's something that used to happen.
Or does it still happen?
It is still
There's
happening.
39 million.
39 million every financial year being allocated to.
Is this somewhere? Is it written somewhere?
Yes.
39 million shillings every year is going to pay non-Kenyans pension for the work they did in Kenya during the colonial times.
Colonizing us. We are very good.
This is happening as we speak.
Yes. By the way, we do not have any problems. We should not be paying more tax. We just need to be given a new budget book. We write it. Salaries. Yes. How many workers do we need?
No, sorry. Where is this thing written that 39 million shillings is going to pay people who are not Kenyans their pension?
It's in the budget book. It's part of the pension and the funds. Yes. Right now, by the way, this year, and we'll post it on our website, www.tisa.co.ke, Okoh Uchumi. Look for it. We'll analyze for you. We cannot just keep saying we won't pay. We must show them why we will not pay additional taxes. We cannot continue. And you know, the worst thing is, these people, they play with our mind so much. So every ministry has a parastato.
Yeah.
We will give you the analysis. So let me use like the the Attorney General. They have several parastato.
Yeah.
Kenya Law Reform Commission. That one, they have their own budget. So we tell them, don't buy a car here. The parastato ends up buying the car for them. And that is still Kenya taxpayers' money. Their debt is guaranteed. Everything the parastato does, the ministry could do.
Yeah.
Let's not even go back to the advisors who the Attorney General has led the country in appealing to ensure that they stay.
Yeah.
Advisors where those things are. So don't say we will pay more. The government only does what we citizens allow them to do. So if we allow them to tax us more, they will continue to enrich themselves as we get poorer, get malnourished.
Tom.
Yes.
I want to ask the question.
Yes.
We have been told time without number that the government of Kenya will implement austerity measures. That because you guys decided to throw out Finance Bill 2024, we will tighten our belts and see how we will not spend so that money remains here and you're able to fund the budget. Wananchi, I'll read for you what they're saying. While Wananchi are tightening their belts literally, the political class are tightening Gucci belts. Is that the situation?
I think that is an understatement because if you look at the wristwatches the politicians are putting on, the shoes that they have, the suits they have, those are not signs of austerity. If you look at then I just talked of the parastatals, the funds that we are creating. These funds that we are creating, they come with staff, office costs, okay? Office costs. And those are additional costs. When you go to Office of the President, advisors, they're all over. And by the way, I looked at those items. Each and every one has got general administration cost, okay? General administration costs. Then we also see things like, how do we call it? How do we call this? There is hospitality costs. Each and every single line. Those are the chais and mandazis that we are talking about. Okay? And that tells you that the government, actually, they are not concerned about. They want to create jobs for their friends and their families and their boyfriends, their girlfriends. They have to find a way of accommodating them just to ensure that 2027 they're safe,
comfortable,
but not in the lens of a common mwananchi. Because let me ask you, why would you have I know this one, people will say different, they will have different opinions. Why would we be paying the office of the former prime minister? Why would we still budget for his salary?
It's there in this budget.
It is in 2025, 2026. We have a supplementary. So it means up to the end of this financial year, we are planning for his salary and all those. A whole 8 million.
Maybe in the realization that, obviously, because person in question is deceased, they will roll back on that?
Not yet.
No?
Not
yes.
So where would that money go? If it's obvious that the individual, by natural attrition is not there, then shouldn't that money then, because you can relook your budget, you can.
So that is what Diana is saying, that ideally zero-based budgeting is still on paper. It has not been implemented because one of the things it was supposed to do, it was supposed to help us with the austerity, okay, in terms of unnecessary government expenditures, and that one we are not seeing happening. I've just pointed you to just one line, okay, because at this point, why am I justifying that there's no zero-based budgeting? The Ministry of Education, they wanted to do laboratories and workshops, equipment for special needs in TVETs, for example. Do you know what has been budgeted for? They've budgeted for dining halls. Why are they budgeting for dining halls when the ministry wanted laboratories?
People must eat well.
So it tells you someone went to the previous template and just pasted numbers there. They did not do. So we can justify that it is not happening. So what we are seeing, today is our government is not. By the way, this is the most unequal budget that we are going to see. It is going to bring serious inequality in the country. Serious inequality.
Okay, so looking at the numbers, and of course, if we look at what's happening today being the final day that folks can give their submissions in terms of public participation towards the finance bill, which we understand that we don't. If we look at the funds essentially that we put in a basket is what is then demarcated in the finance bill. That's how now you see that, just for example, that there will be a 5% increased tax on whatever, that it'll cost you a little bit more to send money.
Yes.
That it'll cost you a little bit more to buy a mobile device, things like that. Now that money is what is going to go and fund all of this budget that we're talking about.
It is what will fund this luxury.
The excess.
Yes, it is funding. We are being taxed more to fund luxury.
So now when folks come and say then, Diana, reject the finance bill, does it make some sense? If they're coming from the understanding that the finance bill, from what you're saying, and of course if we look into the numbers then maybe we'd be able to establish that further, are they justified in the call to reject it? Or are there not some things that you can actually look into the finance bill and say it makes sense?
Nduh, in the finance bill, it's largely, it was supposed to be about cleaning tax administration, making it neat. But because we needed to raise more revenue, we've gone to adding value-added tax for sending money. Okay? So we are a digital economy. The minute you add 16%, gosh,
there's no value. What value to you apart from the thing that you are purchasing when you send money is there that you would have to then add VAT on that procedure?
And yet already there are enough taxes. When you pay for your RTGS 500, 600, there's enough money that is being raised in that particular sector. But we decide we need to charge merchant fee. Okay, the finance bill this year has increased the number of commodities, especially in the agriculture and the pharmaceutical sectors that are either zero rated or VAT exempt.
Okay.
So an attempt to grow that particular sector. But the Kenya Revenue Authority, they wanted to become Kenya Revenue Service.
Yes.
Will become the Kenya Revenue Command. Like set aside authority. Authority you can even negotiate. Command. They will be commanding algorithm. Their system will assess you. You do not self-assess yourself for tax, as has been the norm. And they will surveil us on every particular front. They have tried that since 2023. So when we say, are there good clauses? Yes, there are good clauses in the finance bill. Why do we say reject a finance bill? What we are saying is reject new revenue. Reject new revenue because we do not have a revenue problem. Go fix the expenditure, go fix the theft, go fix the wastage, then come and we have the conversation. This year, even MPs are saying, please, we cannot work with a 4.82 trillion budget. It is time to rethink. Because you can feed a monster, but you realize the monster is coming to eat you. So I'm sure even the MPs who keep sending handouts, the handouts now are meaningless. So it is time to reset all that. It is therefore, and that is what, and I hope you can help us push the country in that direction. We must begin the conversation of what is a reasonable budget. What is proper expenditure that Kenyans approve and are okay with. They are very, they look small. And when we tell it to the MPs, I don't know, it's because they are rich. You see, like the judiciary, we give the judges a car. All judges have a taxpayers-driven car.
Yes.
Fueled and driven. The driver is paid by taxpayers. The car is paid by taxpayers 24/7 to safeguard the independence of the judiciary.
Yes.
But in addition to that, we give them a car, a personal car, 10 million every 4 years. Okay. We just passed their retirement benefits, and upon retirement, every judge gets a car grant.
All judges?
Yes, when they retire, they will be getting that moving forward. That's not austerity. We love you. We love that you safeguarded justice. But justice must also be in the context of the country that we are living in. At retirement, that can't be the benefits that Parliament approves. When other people retire, immediately they are dying because they will no longer afford healthcare. People retire in debt.
Government isn't paying their pension.
Their pension already. And these are the types of perks we want. The minute you approve that for the judiciary, it's the same thing we'll approve for members of parliament.
There's nobody that will be
Cabinet,
left out.
everybody. And it's just the upper levels of the public service that will benefit. Why are we enriching people who already had good salaries, who had good housing allowance, to be the ones who take away? So when this budget is analyzed, and luckily social media squeezy is there, AI is there, Kinatom, we will put out what every line means. And until we reset our budget, currently the budget we have is purely for the rich. And the rich who are not affected by anything. Do you know our hospitals? We've gotten a petition from Kenyatta. People telling us, come audit Kenyatta. Why? Because all money is now collected and goes to the East Central.
Yes.
So there's no money to run operations. So if the generator in Kenyatta switches off, that is allegedly, that is what the petition tells us, and we are going to find out, the babies will die. Because where do you get fuel?
So you must then go back. Essentially, a committee must sit to spend money.
To spend money.
Okay.
But money must also come from outside. There's no kitty. But it gets so bad that sometimes hospitals lack stitching thread after an operation. Okay? That is when we are discussing certain perks for people, either in the judiciary, in parliament, in the executive. Something must give. Something, when we say austerity, it means exactly that. The Nairobi County governor cannot be telling us that they're going for a trip to New York. No. We live in a digital space. We can bring you a screen and show you the whole of New York. We will give you all the policies. You give us an angle. You want to be on what street? We will take you there. You want to go to Brick? We on our computer. All you need is internet.
Yes.
These are the things that must stop. How many times do you see the ministers of China coming here to benchmark? What? And they bring a very small delegation. But those countries are growing. The quality of our leaders, which therefore speaks to the quality of the voters, sadly, is affecting us. And it is the reason we have a ridiculous 4.8 trillion.
All of these things are connected.
Do you reckon that the citizenry make the connection? are they beginning to make the connection on what their vote means to their future and that of their children?
As I add to that, just on the finance bit kidogo, there's an additional money we are seeking to raise using the finance bill. So you asked a good question. That should now the citizens justified to say that they're rejecting the finance bill? By the way, as a young person, this finance bill is going to affect me more than you. It is seriously going to affect me. And why I would boldly say that some of the provisions there must be deleted or in totality removed. How can we be...
Such as what?
How can we be boxed into paying some of this just to go and fund, for instance, catering services for the deputy president? Or his domestic travel? 88 million going towards such kind of things. When, what Diana said, people are dying in hospitals. The other day, I had a friend who... I think the child came a little bit earlier at Kenyatta, and they had to be taken through incubation. What happens if that generator goes off? The child will die. That is how serious it is. And now the provisions we are being given is you raise money to fund someone who is going to travel to do an arambe somewhere, or to offer catering services to some group of people somewhere. That is seriously insane. Now, on your question on the voters, I think if they didn't understand last year, or first still, if they didn't understand what was in the supplementary in January or in February this year, they have to understand what is in the finance bill and what is in the budget for 2026-2027.
Oh, why? Because the supplementary budget that came January, February, essentially was it's an additional extra to get some more money because it didn't come in the original budget. And those will play out in this same financial year. So if you see something like that happening, then is it an indication of what is to come, or are they separate issues?
It is. They are tied. They are connected, because the numbers that were brought for us in January and February in the supplementary, they have been used to calculate what is in the estimates for 2026-2027, and also to do projections for the medium term, 2027, 2028, and 2028-2029. So, if we remain quiet, actually, it is going to affect us beyond this regime. Yeah. So ideally, they are really tied. They are really connected. And if we think it is far off, if by any chance, because I know for sure we are not going to collect 3 trillion in ordinary revenue. If that happens, this is seriously going to affect us, because we are going to borrow. Who is going to pay that money?
Borrow more.
Yeah.
And if we are going to borrow, how is that connected to the services that we are going to get?
So you're saying that from what you're projecting, or if 2025, 2026 is any indication, that it's very possible that into 2026, 2027, the Kenya Revenue Authority will not collect 3.8 trillion shillings.
It won't. This is so that even the books look manageable. We will not collect the 2.9, almost 3 trillion. We project we may collect 2.7, thereabout 2.75. So we will have a higher deficit. We will then borrow. To make sure we can borrow, the government already has restructured our debt. Restructuring our debt, when that we go and talk to, we owe you 2 trillion. Siwache tulipe ka interest kidogo, tuta resume 2032. 2032, 31. Sema sawa, yora. We kick the can down the road. Okay? And why we say the youth will be affected, most of our debt has been renegotiated and will kick in 2028 onwards. The bulk of the debt repayment will come back.
2031. Who went, I sound like an owl. Who went and had the conversation about restructuring this debt? Who is that?
You've not had the CS expert, the PS, Treasury, FCPA, FCPA, even the previous cabinet secretary. They renegotiated because we needed breathing space. But they just kicked the can down the road. And immediately we renegotiated, we started borrowing
again.
More. Yes. So usually you renegotiate so that you reorder your house.
Yes.
Not
but
that
there was no house reordering that then took place.
No. So that's the...
Diana, so were we lied to when we were being told that lazima tuache kuchimba shimo, we must stop borrowing, immediately so that we can be able to take care of ourselves? All we did was to renegotiate this, push it further down the road, but continue borrowing. Is it true that Kenyans were literally lied to on the position of debt and what the government would do to help the country deal with the issue?
Yes, and yes. We avoided an express debt default by telling people, allow us to pay in the future. We never changed our borrowing practice. And most of the debt renegotiated is foreign debt. Now we cannot go and borrow outside because with those we have already renegotiated. We now increased our domestic borrowing, which is more expensive. We were not only lied to that we will stop, we expanded our
ceiling,
our spaces for borrowing. Securitization, we are borrowing.
NIF.
Just call it something that sounds cool.
Yes. NIF, we are borrowing. The sovereign
borrowing NIF.
National Infrastructure Fund. That money is debt. Is debt that we will now not pay through the consolidated fund services. We will pay.
Why?
As we are getting the service. If it's a road service.
No. But you were told KCP, the partial divestiture of government funds in KCP, ownership rather, in KCP was, and we know Uganda gave money, Kenyan investors gave money. We were told that it's going into a fund.
Yeah.
And the fund is supposed to now...
That is seed capital. That is seed capital to attract more project financing. Project financing is a loan that goes specifically to a viable commercial project that must bring back revenue. So, the divestiture, hata afadhali ingelipa deni ama ijenge classrooms for Kenyans. This is seed capital so that we go back to Dubai, to whichever capital, and tell them, are you able to build for us an airport terminal? Yes, please come in.
Take 100 billion. Or how?
It's the seed capital top up. It gets to 1 trillion. How will we get it back? This is the amount of money we will charge for that particular terminal. You want a road? Yes, we'll build for you. This road always has traffic. The people who do not want traffic when they are going to the village back in Western will use the toll road. They will repay. We will get back our revenue. So it's still debt. It is still debt in every form and manner. Is that the type of development that we want? And as we do that, not all roads can be told. It's okay. Don't take Panadol.
It's because I'm looking at this debt as you're just explaining it, right? So we have NIF, we've taken all these debts where we pay using our toll and everything. And I'm assuming all this debt is tied to a certain period. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. That means if within that period we've not been able to pay back this individual, does it automatically become the debt that then goes back to consolidated fund?
Yeah.
Dennis anauliza pesa ya KPC kwa wapi?
Pesa ya KPC?
Si pesa ya KPC. Wacha kwanza. So, we have used infrastructure fund as the guarantee upon which someone has constructed the Rironi Road, right? It is pegged
that's the plan.
That's the plan, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Then it is pegged on it shall be paid within 30 years.
Yeah.
after 30 years and you've not been able, that debt has not been paid, does it go back to then again, all of us, to then pay?
Yes.
So that means it is just another debt in waiting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's another debt in waiting. So the youth especially wait for you will pay.
You will pay.
You will pay. So if you don't stop them now, you will really pay. And actually, I happened to sit on a panel with an economic advisor, and he explained this is where money is whoever invests decides the project.
Yeah.
So we will not, the usual public participation, not on NIF, okay? But we shall be here. We shall stop things we don't like. Then they can decide. But it's that painful and costly. But let me bring this other context. You've seen the way there is the issue of children being abandoned. The close to 7,000. Then those who are being
10,000
cumulatively abduction. But also all this is based on we passed a policy that we need to close children's home. Government can't be taking care of children. But we become so negligent that 10,000 children get abandoned and missing. And it is not, we have not seen a presidential address on it. Children disappear to that extent. In this budget, what are we doing to protect those children? Look at what is happening in families as a result. The levels of violence. It is all linked to this particular extractive budgets and taxation. If Kenyans take nothing else, even the bank that is profiting a lot from the loans is saying, we can't do this anymore. We live in this country. The few bonuses I will get as somebody who works in the financial sector is not commensurate to the harm we will have caused the country. Now, we keep saying we will get a haircut. The day a haircut comes, a haircut means we will say we are not paying bills and bonds for this particular period. And if your bond was valued at 100, we have valued it at 40. You lose this.
No
Pension
question,
funds,
no
question.
I beg. Okay.
What will happen to our banks? Pensioners, they will have lower incomes in a more difficult time. That is what is about to come. And under the new constitution, the cabinet secretary should not be reading the budget. He should not be wasting our time carrying a briefcase.
Repeat, please.
Under the Constitution 2010, the budget is passed by Parliament. It is already there on the website.
Kenyans already reading it.
Yes, this other ceremony is like reciting a Bible verse that is already written. The budget is already written. It is now time for Kenyans to analyze it and engage with members of Parliament on the few tweaks and changes that are required. Secondly, I know Parliament has communicated that they close hearing today.
Yes.
But the likes of the people-based organizations, churches, Okoh Uchumi, our date is 29th. So kujeni tupeleke maoni Parliament on both the finance bill and the budget. Because if we do not, power only listens to numbers. It listens to fellow power. Sisi, are we trillionaires? No. Are we billionaires? No. But we have our numbers.
Power listens to numbers.
Yes. So please let us send memoranda in our numbers. Let's show up before both the Budget and Appropriation Committee as well as the Finance and Planning Committee in our numbers.
Okay, I want to come back to the National Infrastructure Fund and where essentially that money goes, because all of this ties in. But before that, I know that there were questions, and you're also giving that, CTA now about what you can do to come out and make your views heard. And that can be based on some of the things that we've spoken about this morning, or some of the things that you've heard, or even if you're totally confused, that can be, I am totally confused. What does this all mean? And actually say that. So in terms of where this can actually go, submissions for the finance bill are sent to the Clerk of the National Assembly. That is CNA. CNA at Parliament. That is, the N is November, Alpha, at parliament.go.ke. CNA at parliament.go.ke. You can copy it to clerk.nationalassembly at parliament.go.ke. If you write a letter and send it by carrier pigeon, P.O. Box 41842 -00100 Nairobi, Kenya. That is to the Clerk of the National Assembly, P.O. Box 41842-00100. Remember also that you need to identify yourself when you are sending this. Just say what it is that you need to say in relation to the finance bill. Be specific, reference specific clauses. Clause 15 regarding VAT on digital services. Explain your support or objection. Otherwise, it will be thrown out. Explain the reason why you are supporting and or rejecting. And also provide alternatives is what they say. If you object a tax, for example, suggest an alternative way for the government to meet its revenue targets, for example. That's what they're asking you to do. And you can also show up at public participation places. TISA is doing one. There are a number. I believe that the public submissions are closing today, but there are other options for you to do this. So folks were asking, that is it. If you're doing it from the comfort of your home, where you're sending an email, again, the email is CNA at parliament.go.ke or clerk.nationalassembly at parliament.go.ke. All right. So we can do that, and we'll send a reminder about what that's about. Please. You can be involved in this. When we talk about citizen-centered governance, this is what we are talking about. When you have an understanding, or even if you have total confusion about what is going on, ask questions so that this governance is actually sorted out. Okay, Diana and Tom at some point here. The National Infrastructure Fund, right? The Cabinet Secretary, interestingly enough, sat where you were sitting and told us that an organizational structure would then be established for the NIF. And the funds that came from partial divestiture of the shares, of government shares, in KPC or any other publicly listed company that they wanted to, make use of, would go to, there would be a bank account, there would be a CEO, there are people, because he said, government is bad at doing business, too much bureaucracy, too much. That's why they needed that to be done. Now, some of that has already happened. In terms of where you're going to get money for development, this thing that Tom is saying, no, absorption is very low. For up to now, they have a solution. And they're saying, we will form a company where we can be assured that this absorption problem that we talk about in budgets gone by will not be an issue anymore. And we build Kenya, those things. KPC has happened to the tune of 104+ billion shillings. The company is yet to be established, the CEO and all those people. So where did this money go?
Okay. I could go. The minute we began, the sequence was Government-Owned Enterprises Act. This is a law that was to provide for how companies that are owned by government will be administered, and they are under the Cabinet Secretary Treasury and under the Government-Owned Enterprises Act. The Cabinet Secretary works closely with the AG to regulate. He's in charge of all government-owned enterprises. Thereafter, we set up the Privatization Act that says, how do we go about privatizing government-owned enterprises? Again, who is the person in charge of regulating and protecting privatization? The Cabinet Secretary. No, it doesn't go to Parliament. He's really in charge. Whether the next time it's a she, it's the Cabinet Secretary who is in charge. Then we set up the National Infrastructure Fund. The Cabinet Secretary sits on the council. He then appoints the board. He's the one who presents what is to be he's presented to the investment plan. He looks and says whether it's reasonable. Then he reports to Parliament. Is it once a year?
Yes, once a year.
Once a year. So the National Infrastructure Fund that has all this oversight is just the Cabinet Secretary being the prosecutor, the jury,
the judge,
the benefactor, everything. Everything. Other infrastructure funds that are set up are so independent from Treasury.
Or they should be.
They should be.
Okay.
Their line should only go to the central bank where they run an account. Essentially, they ought to report to the parliament. And their appointment ought to go to parliament. In this case, it's just the cabinet secretary. They are saying we need to cancel the noise. Money must come in quietly, and you Kenyans are noisy. Is that what we mean by good governance? I am not sure. We've not recruited.
Yeah, because if he puts it out for all of you people to talk, you're making too much noise.
Too much noise.
Right.
Money runs straight into silently trillions. Now, when that money was we asked during the public participation, when we appeared, we were told the money will go to the consolidated fund. Okay?
Okay.
Because the parliament, by the time we even did the divestiture of Safaricom, there was no national infrastructure fund.
No.
At all. Okay? Right now, I am not sure because the accounting officer for the National Infrastructure Fund is it a CEO?
Supposed to be a CEO.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have not recruited. So without an accounting officer, that money goes to the consolidated fund.
Okay.
When it hits there, it's no longer National Infrastructure Fund. It's consolidated fund. Again, the entire sequence in the PFM is followed. The first charge, debt. The second one, presidential, then recurrent, and so on. Whereas all this is the priority ought to be national interest, then debt, then government priorities, and so on. But we have never defined that for ourselves.
So you're saying the money from KPC has already gone?
If their debt obligation, how will you keep the money there? The minute it gets into the consolidated fund, it follows the same set of rules as our tax, it's income. It's revenue that we generated by selling our vital asset as a country. But maybe they have ring-fenced it. And we will ask...
Is it possible to ring-fence funds within the consolidated fund?
I am not...
Tom is shaking his head.
Yeah, Tom, maybe. And the questions are important. Kenyans, help us ask.
Yes.
Is it possible to ring-fence funds within the consolidated fund and say, well, because we didn't have infrastructure set up for this NIF, we're just going to keep these funds over here, and then when we do, we'll take the funds from the consolidated fund and then now whip it back to the fund account?
I've not seen that provision, especially when we were analyzing the National Infrastructure Fund and when we were appearing before the committee. So that there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee for that. At least for the Sovereign Wealth Fund, there's a little bit of difference.
Okay.
Because they say the money goes there, then it is directed to the fund. But for this one, we don't have that. We don't have that assurity. And you know, with what is happening right now, debt actually will take, especially domestic debt, will take it. Or once it comes, it will yes, straight away.
Okay, so it's that is how it is. Yes. But Kenyans, wake up! This is our country. This is your budget, tax, the debt. Always remember, the debt is future tax, very near future tax. So the same way we oppose the finance bill, we need more rigor and vigor in analyzing any debt that comes into the country and how it is acquired, how it is utilized. You know, we are yet to finalize our analysis of how debt is used in this country, and it is just depressing.
And you're not done yet?
No. The history of debt in Kenya, all our big mega scandals before we got to, this is like the higher level of mega is?
Promax.
Scandals. Goldenberg was a debt scandal. Anglo leasing was a debt scandal. Debt is very easy to steal. Debt is very easy to procure and thereafter drive other procurement to benefit people. If we were 12.8 trillion investment-rich country, by now we would be a donor for the World Bank. We would not be a recipient. 12.8 trillion.
Yeah.
That investment would be visible everywhere.
Right?
Yes.
If you put 12 trillion into your economy today, you're going to feel it somewhere.
Exactly.
Somewhere. All right. You were just supposed to come and give us a little bit of headache-inducing information this morning, but I think the Panadol is a little... Look, and it's for information, for knowledge, so that you can take it and do something with it, because we're not talking about sitting and wallowing in problems. We're saying there must be a way that you can get towards the solutions. This is one of them. Just a reminder that email is cna@parliament.go.ke, and you need to send a copy to clerk.nationalassembly@parliament.go.ke. I don't know if somebody's going to respond and say we have received your submissions, but it would be nice to get some kind of feedback from that. And like the Institute of Social Accountability tells us, there will be more, there will be options. Come out, Kenyans, because power understands numbers. I think that's something we can go away with this morning. Diana Gishengo and Tom Ogoda, thank you very much for being with us this morning. We said 10 minutes, but it came out to be another one. But it was necessary to do. Asante Sana. This is how we start off the week on the Situation Room. This is what it looks like. Don't be quiet. Let's talk. Let's move things. Good morning. It's 10 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the news. I'm Sheila Tembor. As Parliament resumes sittings tomorrow after a 3-week recess, the Finance Bill 2026, rising fuel prices and concerns over the cost of living are expected to dominate debate. Key business will include the Budget and Appropriations Committee report on the 2026-2027 national estimates set for tabling on 2nd June ahead of debate on the Appropriation Bill and Finance Bill 2026. MPs will also consider Senate amendments to the Division of Revenue Bill 2026 and the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2026, which guide revenue sharing between the national and county governments. The House is expected to receive the budget policy statement and revenue proposals for the 2026-2027 financial year on 11th June. Other business include consideration of a nominee for Kenya's High Commissioner to Canada, several bills on finance, healthcare, microfinance, and the judiciary, as well as a petition on the degazettement of parts of public forest. MPs will also review key policy documents, including the National Petroleum Policy and the National Energy Policy 2025, and are expected to attend the National Prayer Breakfast with President William Ruto. The Kenyan High Commission in Canberra has launched investigations into